Welcome, everyone, to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name's Jared Mello, and I'm the Shepherd of Black Sheep. To my right, my buddy Shadow the Night Owl. He is the spirit animal and the mascot of the channel here, but not to mention my right-hand man. You ever seen Pinocchio? Shadow is to me as Jiminy Cricket is to Pinocchio. How about that? And tonight, I already went live earlier once today, but we're back again because we have some more Kouri Richins material to go over. Now, we haven't seen this guy for a minute, but I do really like the way JD, a lawyer, explains how he breaks down things. And he's got a video here we're going to go over. He actually has a couple that we might go over, honestly. And then there's a Tony Bruschi video to go over. And then maybe a Lawyer Lee video to go over as well. Miss Kim. Shadow and I say hello, Miss Kim. Long time no see. Hello there, Holly. How are you? Shadow says hello. We're all living the dream here. We'll be going over some Kouri Richins. The zero accountability Kouri Richins. And again, I get it. If you're really shooting for a new trial, are you going to take accountability? No. You're just not. So I think she's delusional enough to think, well, I'm just going to go down with the ship. I'm never going to admit a thing. I'm going to commit to the lie. I'm going to commit to the ruse and just see it all the way through to the bitter ends. She strikes me as the type that, and Tony Bruschi, he's got some funny commentary about it. She's like, Kouri Richins' yoga teacher in jail, so proud of her attendance. It's like, I mean, hey, yoga in jail. What else are you going to do? Hello there, Dee and Snoop. How are you? And Dana, how are things over there? As you wander on in here, as the flock of black sheep wander in, because the gate's open for business, please remember to like the video because likes are free. Spank the like button. Leave your DNA of choice on the like button. And throw a like vest to Shadow the Night Owl, the same way Brian Hooker should have to Lynette Hooker, but did not. So make sure you do that. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. If you're lurking, say hello. Hello there, Jackie. How are you this evening? And as always, super chats, super stickers, becoming a channel member, gifting channel memberships. Great way to support the channel. Helps me to pay for Shadow the Night Owl's soy-free hoodie snacks and free-range hoodie snacks as well. When you're a member, you get access to the members-only live streams, the Chill and A's and the Q&A's. They're a grand old time. I do them once a week. And I go live. I'm late tonight. I'm sure, and Laura will remind me as soon as she comes in. Yes, because I was live earlier, but usually it's between 10 and 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and I talk about true crime, current events, and psychology. And I use my unique experience with mental health, addiction, narcissistic abuse, and narcissistic family systems to give my unique insight into those things. And Shadow provides some of his insights as well. But I warn people, Shadow is not always politically correct. Hello there, Nanny. How are you? Stressed earlier. What happened there, Jackie? And how about you, Holly? How are things in your world, Holly? I know Nanny and Miss Kim and a few others were there for the other live stream. Nanny Goat was too, which was cool, and Snoop. So we're going to go to our man on the beach. You know who our man on the beach is? Autumn. Welcome. Shadow says hello too. So let's pop on into our boy at the beach, JD, a lawyer knows. And this is about Kouri Richins, of course.
There were a lot of people who came in, family members, and I guess people she knew from the community, to speak at her sentencing on her behalf, and they painted a very nice and favorable picture of her. But I have a few to present, and I have a few comments to make about some of the things these folks have said. The first one is her brother, and the second one is Mr. Ramos, her lawyer. And then the third one is Wendy Lewis, who I think did a pretty good job in making the arguments that she made. I'll tell you more about some of the tributes to the young woman in just a little bit. Hi, Tony DeWitt here. Formerly, I was a Missouri attorney in active practice.
I mean, this guy seems like a pretty reasonable lawyer. I mean, I'm going to invite him on the show. And by the way, speaking of inviting on the show, announcements, I have reached out to Matt Murphy. Hopefully, I get a hold of him. Dr. Eleanor Greenberg has gotten back to me. She is the author of Narcissistic Borderline and Schizoid Adaptations. She'll be on the show. She's got some interesting things to share. She actually also works with narcissistic men, so that should be interesting. We're going to go over that. Dr. Salerno next Friday. And we'll see who else is on the docket. I'm going to be trying to do, like I've been saying, at least one interview a week. Although I feel like this week I did not. And Shadow said, Jared, you messed up this week. You had no interview, which was poor. Poor by me.
Then I retired. Then I unretired and started a YouTube channel. And I bring you all kinds of stuff about trials and the law. So no legal advice is given, but stay tuned. This is what we're talking about today.
The missile that was stolen from us for reasons that we can't yet fully understand. We don't, with 100% certainty, know what happened to Eric. No one does, but we do know with 100% certainty that it wasn't caused by you. We know that. We just know it. The prosecution knows it, and everyone watching this trial knows it. They could not prove their theory, just the opposite, and yet here we are. For some reason, unbeknownst to us, really bad things happen to really good people, Kouri, and you were just really too good of a person, I guess.
Oh, my Lord. This is like, honestly, if you're the family of the deceased, this is just nauseating to hear, isn't it? That Kouri, you're just too good.
I promised Dad a long time ago that I'd always look after you and Mom, and I intend on keeping that promise. We'll get through this together, and the injustice that's occurred here in this courtroom, it'll be righted in time. Your innocence will shine too brightly to be contained once you actually have a fair shot at defending yourself.
I just have to ask you, is that the way you remember it? Because that's not the way I remember it. I remember thinking, wow, they got it right and in record time. Yet, apparently, they got it all wrong. How could they? I mean, where was the evidence? I mean, other than the stacks and stacks of evidence that they stacked up. But that wasn't even, I think, the worst of it.
And this guy gives a reasonable take here, I think. I mean, he's pretty level-headed and grounded. So Shadow and I like this guy. But that was her brother, I believe. And I don't know. I feel like the gaslighting is strong with him too. Or maybe they're just all lying to themselves as well. Maybe they're just like, you know what? I don't want to believe that Kouri did this. And since Kouri's vehemently denying it, we're going to go with it and we're going to believe her, despite the evidence to the contrary. Which is frustrating, right? It's frustrating if you're expecting these people to validate your perception of reality, you're just not going to get it. Now, thankfully for the deceased family and victim, the courts validated their perception of reality, but certainly not Kouri, and certainly not her family.
Your Honor, I want to maybe begin by speaking just plainly and honestly. I disagree with the jury's verdict. I'm deeply saddened by the way that justice was rendered in this case. I don't believe that this outcome fully reflects the truth or the humanity involved. But our Constitution demands something difficult of all of us, especially of officers of the court. It demands restraint. It demands respect for the process even when the outcome wounds us. And so, while I disagree with the verdict, I respect the jury's decision. And while I disagree with many of this court's rulings, I respect the lawful authority of this court and of your honor. This is because the rule of law only survives if we continue to honor it, even in moments of disappointment and pain. But as a Catholic, there's one authority higher than any courtroom, verdict, or government power, and that is God. I say that as a reminder of humanity and of human limitation. Our system of justice is imperfect, because every human is imperfect. I think that humility matters here today. It matters because the sentence of life without parole risks becoming something greater than punishment. It risks becoming the declaration that redemption no longer matters. The late Pope Francis said that life without parole is just a death penalty in disguise because it extinguishes something fundamental to human dignity, and that is hope.
You know who had their hope extinguished? That would be Kouri Richins. And he doesn't get a second crack at it. He can't appeal his death penalty. He can't appeal that at all because he's no longer with us. So spare me the tears for Kouri Richins and her bad result. Sorry, but sometimes guilty people do get convicted.
The state quoted the court as follows. The psychological reality is that aggravating circumstances in first-degree murder cases will virtually always outweigh mitigating circumstances. However, what the state left out is what the court said next, which was that the Eighth Amendment doesn't allow the death penalty in every case, and courts must take a long, hard look at the totality of the circumstances, the values of society, and the value of all human life. And though this is not a death penalty case, the same would apply to a sentence of life without the possibility of parole.
I guess I have to give Wendy Lewis credit. I think she tried to walk down the middle and argue in very good form for the lower of the two sentences that are available for count one, which is first-degree murder. And I'm not sure what good it did to go to a death penalty case, but I think she was just trying to rebut what the state had said in its remarks. And of course, all kinds of people spoke for Eric and said, max her out. That wasn't the surprising part. The surprising part to me was that they got so many other people to talk about what a great person she was. Her brother, somebody that she worked with at one point in time, one of her former coworkers. That all kind of surprised me.
It is interesting that they got so many people to take her side. It's almost like they're all subscribed to Kouri's distorted version of reality, and they don't want to admit to the evidence that points in the other direction. That's what it seems like. And it does seem like there's a fair bit of evidence pointing in the other direction. That being said, I don't think the defense did a great job in her case. There probably was more angles they could have tried to play, but even so, they certainly had an uphill battle.
But without a doubt, the absolute worst statement was Kouri's own statement, which she directed at her boys, which will probably never see her again and are probably very glad that they will not see her again because she took their father away. Now, I have to warn you up front, this is a blubber fest. She's going to sniffle and blubber and talk about how upset she is and all that and how it only took 3 hours. I'm not going to play all that for you. I'm just going to give you a little flavor of what this was like.
You're my reason for living.
And we played this the other day. I called it Kouri Richins' TED Talk. Kouri Richins gives a TED Talk.
I understand that you're in a difficult situation, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I understand you guys have been through an extremely difficult time this past 4 years. You should never have to deal with such tragedy, and I am so, so sorry that you are going through this. You boys have the right to be angry and sad and confused, feel in survival mode, have questions. All of this is completely valid. Your feelings are completely valid. And one day when this is all over, we can sit down and talk about all of this and sort it all out. And I promise you boys, one day it will be over. I'm not perfect. I have succeeded and I have failed. As a person, as a wife, as a parent, we all do. I have done plenty of things I am not proud of. Some I regret, some I don't. Some I'm ashamed of, and some I'm not. I regret things I have done right in my life to later find out they were for the wrong people. I have said things I shouldn't have. I've done things I shouldn't have. Sometimes I haven't said what I should or not meant what I did say.
Now imagine this person. Imagine Kouri is a narcissistic person in your life that has abused you, mistreated you, etc. And maybe this is how she's talking about how she's treated you. How obnoxious would that be? Or even if it's someone that you know that was killed and their abusive partner is talking like this in front of everyone, what would you think? You'd probably be furious. You'd be like, oh my God, this is just hideous. And again, just never conceding, but never forget, it's like Dr. George Simon said, it's not that they don't see, they disagree. And it's not that they aren't aware, they just don't care.
There are things I can't change and long overdue apologies that I owe. Believe in yourself and be brave. Never give up on your fight, no matter how long it takes, months, even years. Never give up on truth, justice, and the fight of corruption. When something is broken, fix it. When something doesn't make sense, question it. If money is paying for it, follow the money. Your brothers are your best friends. Your dad and I raised you boys, but if you cared about nothing else in this world, you care about each other. Your brothers will always be there for you. They will always be your brothers. You love them. You protect them. You take care of each other. You support each other. You help each other. And you trust one another. You be loyal to one another. And you keep each other safe and healthy and happy. And you stay together no matter what. You have each other's backs. Be patient with one another.
It's almost like she's talking about that biblical verse in the wedding, right? Love is patient, love is kind. It's like if you didn't know any better, you would think she was talking at their weddings or something. But actually, no. She's talking at her murder sentencing.
Don't keep track of wrongdoings. Let them go. Forgive. Move on. Show compassion. Empathy toward each other. And never go a day without telling one another you love each other. Because you are never too old or too cool or too busy to love each other. Don't ever settle for just good. Go for great. In school, in your career.
There's Gary Vaynerchuk. Don't go for good. Go for great. Be like Kellogg's cornflakes. They're great.
In hunting and fishing, in your relationships, in your goals, exceed expectations. Be like your dad. Be generous. Be charitable. Stay humble. Give when you have too much. Give more than you take. Help when others are in need. Serve your community. Be like your dad. Never stop learning through education, through people, through travel and culture, through business and friends, from your success and achievements, from your mistakes and failures. Be like your dad.
Well, after the blubberfest, as you might imagine, it came time for Judge Mrazek to come in with the sentence.
And he lays down the smackdown.
I'm going to play this all the way through because I think it is brilliantly said and brilliantly crafted to insulate this from any appeal where somebody suggests that this was done out of spite or anger or something else. He absolutely nails it here.
Court has considered the following information: the evidence, information, arguments, and recommendations provided by counsel on the record today, the victim impact statements and other statements made on the record today regarding the appropriate sentence, and the pre-sentence investigation report as corrected on the record today, including the numerous statements attached to it.
And it seems like everyone likes this judge for the very most part. The only criticism I've heard is people wished that Kouri wasn't allowed to do that statement, but it's under her rights to be able to do it. So I don't think the judge was even able to stop it. It's victim impact statement day. And that includes Kouri, believe it or not. So that's really the only criticism I heard of the judge. But outside of that, I think most people think he did a very good job. And chat, what do you think? Do you think he did a good job? I think he did. I think he was pretty reasonable, very reasonable, grounded. So press 1 if you think the judge did well. Press 2 if you thought there was things that he should have done differently.
In addition, the court has considered each of the factors set forth in Utah Code 76-3-201 subsection 2B and has prioritized those factors as required by section 201-2C. Having considered the gravity and circumstances of the offenses for which Ms. Richins has been convicted, the number of victims, and available information regarding the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant, the court hereby orders that the sentences on counts 2 through 5 shall run consecutively to each other and to the sentence imposed on count 1. Moreover, the court exercises its discretion and chooses to impose no fines related to any sentence in this case. The court addresses the 5 counts on which Ms. Richins was convicted in reverse order. Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 5, third-degree felony forgery, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term not to exceed 5 years. Based on your conviction on count 4, second-degree felony insurance fraud, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 1 and not more than 15 years.
And again, these insurance fraud things, I mean, they point to guilt too, right? They all point in that direction.
Based on your conviction on count 3, second-degree felony insurance fraud.
Shadow says, what do we smell? Ooh, that smell. We got wow. $10 super chat, Shadow. Can't you smell that smell? Hit the like. Didn't want Shadow to starve, lol. Shadow says, thank goodness, because he was like, where are the hootie snacks? Where's the soy-free hootie snacks, Jared? You said you promised you would take care of me. And I said, you're right, Shadow. I haven't been asking. So thank you very much. Wow. Shadow is very grateful, and as am I. Everyone else also, likes are free. So is subscribing to the channel. Say hello to the flock of black sheep while you're here. Tell a friend or 5 about the flock of black sheep. We would all love that. And thank you again. Thank you again. Wow.
The court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 1 and not more than 15 years. Based on your conviction on count 2, first-degree felony attempted aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 5 years, and that may be for life. Which brings us to the final issue, the appropriate sentence for count 1. Under Utah Code 76-3-207.7, there are only 2 options. An indeterminate prison term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life, or life in prison without parole. And the law requires that the court consider each option. Under a sentence of 25 to life, and considering the effect of the 4 consecutive sentences, the time that Ms. Richins has spent in custody, and the current practices of the Board of Pardons and Parole, Ms. Richins would likely serve approximately 30 years in the Utah State Prison before receiving her first parole hearing. By that time, she would be 66 years old. Under a sentence of life in prison without parole, Ms. Richins would be in prison for the rest of her natural life, unless the Board of Pardons and Parole determines by clear and convincing evidence at some future point that she is permanently incapable of being a threat to the safety of society, at which time the board would have the authority to release her. Under either scenario, Ms. Richins will be incapacitated, meaning structurally prevented from harming anyone outside the Utah State prison system for at least the next 3 decades, and perhaps much longer. But the potential impact on the survivors of the tragedy created by Kouri Richins, most importantly, Eric Richins' 3 sons, is more difficult to predict. On one hand, if the court sentences Ms. Richins to life without parole, 1 or more of those young men may come to resent that the court eliminated any opportunity they might have in the future, decades into the future, to express an opinion as adults with substantial life experience about whether their mother should, for example, be allowed to die with dignity. On the other hand, if the court sentences Ms. Richins to 25 to life, 1 or more of those young men may spend the next 30 years questioning why the court failed to protect them from the prospect of the person who murdered their father being released from prison at some time in the distant future, perhaps when they have families and children of their own.
The only thing I was confused about, Danny, is the dying with dignity part. Does that mean after you've served maybe 30 to 40 years, depending on how it's looking, they might say, well, you can be released to die if they think you're within 6 months of dying or something? I'm not familiar with what they mean, death with dignity. Is that actually a thing? I don't know.
The court's contemplation of how those young men may come to feel about today's decision some 30 years from now comes from a place of genuine concern for them and humility regarding the court's inability to predict the future. Sitting here today, it is simply not possible for anyone, not even those young men, to know how their view of this case may evolve over the next several decades. My hope is that every person affected by Eric Richins' death will, over time, find their way to a state of peace. As for today, the court's duty is to make a decision, a weighty, long-lasting decision based on the best information available today. And the bottom line is this. Kouri Richins was convicted unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt of attempting to murder Eric Richins, her husband, and the father of their 3 children. And then, having failed in her first effort of spending the next 17 days, not changing course, but doubling down, preparing to try again, and ultimately completing the act through the administration of poison. And for what? Money. All for pecuniary gain. A person convicted of committing that sequence of acts in that way and for that reason, and who causes the absolute tragedy that has befallen Eric Richins' sons and family. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free. Accordingly, Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 1, first-degree felony aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to life without parole. You have the right to an appeal. You must file a notice of appeal within 30 days. You have the right to be represented by counsel on appeal. Mr. Bloodworth, anything further?
No, yeah.
Well, I think the judge obviously got it right. And I think I made that point earlier. I was kind of surprised to see all the people contesting the verdict. Numerous people did that, other than the Richins family. Of course, they all thought that it was long overdue. Certainly, the judge didn't have any question about her guilt or innocence. And I think that showed up in his analysis. I'm really kind of glad to be over with this case. Hopefully, there won't be anything further to report on. They'll file a motion for new trial. It'll be denied. They will file an appeal.
And that's the other thing. As reasonable as the judge is, I think if there really was wiggle room and he thought that she wasn't guilty, I don't think he would have given her life in prison without parole. So considering all the evidence, because I mean, he's an experienced judge. He knows how this all works. It's not his first rodeo. And everything he heard, he said, you know what? I think she did it. I think she did it. She doesn't need 25 to life. She needs life in prison without parole.
And my guess is that that's going to go nowhere. There was a mountain of evidence to convict her. And I don't think any of it was wrongfully admitted. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. Catch me again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
All right. So make sure you like the video because likes are free. Spank the like button. Leave your DNA of choice on the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. And as always, super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting memberships, great way to support the channel. Becoming a member gives you access to the members-only live streams, and it all helps Shadow get his soy-free hootie snacks, and he can never get enough. He eats his hootie snacks like Pringles. Once you pop, you just can't stop.
One of my subscribers emailed me and asked me if I could do a video on what life would be like for Kouri Richins in the Utah State Penitentiary for Women. The answer is yes, and here it is.
So what is Kouri's life going to be like in Utah State Prison? Let's find out.
Hi, Tony DeWitt here. Formerly, I was a Missouri attorney in active practice. Then I retired. Then I unretired and started a YouTube channel. And I bring you all kinds of stuff about trials and the law. So no legal advice is given, but stay tuned. This is what we're talking about today. Kouri Richins is now going to spend the rest of her life in a Utah prison. Not maybe, not unless paroled, not until she's elderly. The judge sentenced her to life without parole after concluding she was, in his words, too dangerous to ever be free. A lot of people are asking the same question. What does that actually look like? Everybody has heard stories of, she searched for luxury prisons for the rich, right?
What do we have here? Shadow says, what do we have here? Jackie, thank you so much for the super chat, Jackie. For Shadow Snacks, hoot hoot. That's right. We should be doing the flock of black sheep roll call, just like the Coyotes did last night in the JLR episode. Got to do the hoot hoot, the hoot hoot roll call for the flock of black sheep. But Jackie, Shadow says thank you very much. He appreciates it because he's been in a hungry mood. He's like a hungry hippo, except he's an owl. So thank you so much, Jackie. And everyone else, like I said, likes are free.
This isn't one of them. And I think the difference between what Hollywood shows you about prison and what prison is actually like is worth exploring. So we're not doing the courtroom drama here, not the headlines, not the Netflix version.
What do we have here, Shadow? This is also very good. Wow, Life is Rough gifted 10 The Wizard of Radical Self-Respect memberships. Can you believe it? That is pretty awesome of you, Al. So now 10 people, the Lords of YouTube Random, will give memberships to. And now, if you get blessed with the membership, you'll get access to the members-only live streams where you can do a Q&A and a chill-and-A. And I sometimes invite people to speak with me up there, too. We tried to do that with Sikorsky, but she didn't really want to, I guess. But I think we were able to help her anyway. Chat, anyone who was in the members chat, I think we were able to help Sikorsky yesterday, right? But wow, this is very generous of you, Al. Shadow says thank you. I say thank you. And again, I'm very grateful, as is Shadow, for all the support that we get here. We wouldn't be here without you all. And I don't say that lightly. D. Sewell was blessed. Let's see who the YouTube Lords of Random have decided. Thank you again, Wow.
What does daily life really become for somebody like Kouri Richins inside the Utah women's prison system? And today I want to walk through that so that we can show what her life is going to be like from this point forward. First, let's talk about where she's going. Utah's primary prison complex is relatively new. It's the Utah State Correctional Facility near Salt Lake City. The state moved operations there in 2022 from the old Draper Prison Complex. This is not some ancient movie-style prison with crumbling walls and bars from the 1950s. It's a modern correctional campus with differential housing units, different security classifications, medical units, programming units, structured housing, and long-term incarceration sections. And because of the notoriety of this case, Kouri Richins will not just disappear into the general population unnoticed. Everybody there is going to know who she is, and that matters. Because prison culture has its own hierarchy and its own set of rules. There's the rules for the prison, and then there's the rules that the inmates use to govern themselves, both of which can have a profound impact on a new prisoner. Now, one thing people misunderstand about prison is this. Most of prison is not violence. Most of prison is repetition, monotony, routine. The same hallway, the same doors, the same people, the same smells, the same counts, the same meals, the same faces every day. Not just for a couple of days, every day, for decades. And for somebody like Kouri Richins, that repetitive existence may actually become psychologically harder than the sentencing hearing itself. Because sentencing is dramatic, and we know Kouri is a bit of a drama queen. Prison is slow, not dramatic. So what do you think an average day will probably look like? Well, typically, inmates work very early, often around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. There are scheduled accounts throughout the day where inmates must be present and accounted for. Meals happen at fixed times. Movement is controlled. Doors open and close according to institutional schedules, not personal preference. Imagine, if you will, your life reduced to institutional permission. You want to take a shower? You need permission. You want to leave the housing area? You need permission. You want to visit someone, or if somebody wants to visit you, you need permission.
It's like Shawshank Redemption when Morgan Freeman's character Red gets finally paroled after 40 years. He says, even all this time, I still have to ask permission to use the bathroom. Can't squeeze out a drop without a say-so. And then he goes to the rest of the supermarket where they all get jobs when they're paroled. And again, the Shawshank Redemption is a completely different angle of the criminal justice system. Kind of like the movie Dead Man Walking too, with Sean Penn. The true crime space is certainly much more prosecutor friendly, right? More on the prosecution side. But there's a lot of prison movies that are kind of more on the prisoner's side, honestly. So it's just interesting, right? That whole movie, Shawshank, is certainly more about a redemption arc. And again, that's kind of what Kouri Richins' brother was talking like too, right? Where's the room for redemption when there's life in prison without parole? So it's interesting to consider.
You want some fresh air? You need permission. Your personal autonomy disappears. That's one of the biggest shocks for people who enter prison from relatively comfortable lives. And remember, Kouri Richins was not somebody accustomed to any kind of institutional structure. She wasn't accustomed to a schedule. She wasn't accustomed to doing the same things over and over and over again. She was a real estate professional, a businesswoman, bad businesswoman, but a businesswoman, a person who was used to social freedom and movement. She could go where she wanted. She could come back from wherever she was. If she wanted to go get a couple of Starbucks, she could go do it. She wanted to go get a sandwich with all the little sprouts and stuff on it, eat like a little bird, she could do it. Not in prison. Now, every movement she makes is going to be controlled. And unlike jail, prison is designed for permanence. Jail's chaotic. New prisoners come in, old prisoners go out. But prison is structured. Prisoners get sent there maybe once a week. Jail is temporary. You're only there until you're either convicted or released. Prison is a system, and again, it's designed for permanence. People develop routines because psychologically they have to. Some inmates work prison jobs. Some participate in educational programming. Some attend therapy or substance abuse programs. Utah has multiple rehabilitative and therapeutic programs specifically designed for incarcerated women. I'm sure Carmen took advantage of some of those. But here is the uncomfortable truth. When someone receives life without parole, rehabilitation changes meaning. The institution may still encourage programming, but it's like a race with no finish line. There's no release date. There's no date for a parole board. There's no someday I'll go home. That changes the psychology dramatically. A person serving 10 years starts counting downward from the day they get there. A person serving life without parole starts counting never, because there is no release date. There is no end to the monotony, to the boring life, to the routines, to the bad food. Nothing. They have nothing to look forward to. Now let's talk about housing. People always ask, Will she be isolated? Will she be in danger? Will she be in solitary confinement? Well, probably not initially. It'll probably take her at least a week to really honk off warden. That last part was a joke. But she won't be into any of those initially. Most high-profile inmates are eventually placed somewhere within a managed housing environment after classification evaluations. Utah uses a classification system that looks at escape risk, violence risk, mental health issues, notoriety, institutional behavior, and other factors. But notoriety cuts both ways. Some inmates may want to be close to her because she's famous. Others may resent her because of the nature of her crime. And prison culture often reacts strongly to cases involving the betrayal of family members, children, or vulnerable victims. Now, I want to be careful here because Hollywood exaggerates prison politics constantly, but high-profile defendants absolutely carry reputations into prison. And prison populations follow major cases too. Another major reality is this: her world becomes very, very small, very, very fast. People on the outside think prison means confinement, but psychologically, prison means shrinking. Your relationships shrink. Your choices shrink. Your physical environment shrinks down to a 8 by 10 cell. And your future shrinks away. And in Kouri Richins' case, there's another factor that makes this uniquely severe. Her own children reportedly asked the judge to keep her imprisoned permanently because they feared her. Think about how devastating that is emotionally. Oh, she talked a good game at the sentencing.
Regardless of what anyone tells you, I would never, ever leave you boys. And I am so sorry if for even 1 second you thought that I did. If for even 1 second you thought that I didn't love you. Because that couldn't be further from the truth. You boys are my world. The reason I continue to wake up every day and fight to come home. You're my reason for living.
But let's be honest. The fact of the matter is, that had to hurt. Whether deserved or undeserved, prison becomes much harder when family support collapses, because family contact is one of the major emotional survival mechanisms that inmates rely on. Utah allows approved visitation and even video visitation systems, but visits are controlled, scheduled, monitored, and this is important, they are privilege-based. And here's something many people don't appreciate. Prison loneliness is not just being alone. It's being emotionally disconnected from your entire normal life. Children's birthdays happen without you. Graduations happen without you. Holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, they happen without you. Your children become adults without you. And eventually the outside world stops moving around in your absence. And that's one of the hardest realities of long-term incarceration.
Now, here's a question for the chat. Do you think she came clean and admitted it and then tried to show remorse? Do you think that would change her fate a little bit, just in terms of sentencing? Do you think the judge would have said, and again, how often does that happen? Not very often. Although we did see it in the Tanner Horton case. He did admit guilt, and they skipped right to the sentencing phase. But yeah, she said, you know what? I did it. And then tried to show remorse. I wonder what would have happened then. Just out of curiosity. As it is, it doesn't seem like she's really capable of it. And if she has shown no sign of willingness to try. So, what would you think, chat? Would the judge do anything any differently if she did that?
One day, there may not be anybody left on the outside to come and visit you. Now let's talk about her notoriety. Kouri Richins is not just another inmate. She became nationally known because prosecutors argued she murdered her husband with fentanyl. and then later wrote a children's grief book after his death. That story made international headlines, and notoriety inside prison is strange. Some inmates try to disappear, like that scene in The Simpsons where Homer disappears into the shrubs. But some lean into it. Some become prison celebrities. And of course, some become targets. Eventually, notoriety fades. It's another thing prison does. It erases your relevance over time. The media leaves. The documentaries stop. Reporters quit asking you for comments. Public attention moves on to the next case. But the inmate remains. And that may be one of the harshest parts of the sentence. The sentence keeps going after the audience leaves. And then there's aging in prison. People imagine prison is static. It's not. Prison changes as inmates change. Medical issues increase. Mobility decreases.
That's interesting, right? How the prisons change over time. Interesting.
Friendships disappear.
And here's a thought. I wonder if there'll be prisons for AI in the future one day. Would they be able to turn them off or something? Or would they send them to like AI jail? Interesting. When there's actual robots like in Westworld.
Some inmates die. New inmates are transferred in. Maybe they heard about the case while they were outside. Maybe they can't stand you. Other inmates are transferred to other institutions. And a life without parole inmate eventually begins confronting a terrifying reality. The institution is no longer just where they're staying. It's no longer just their temporary housing. It's no longer just where they're going to be until they go home. It becomes the place where they will be, where they will die. Now, I think here's an important distinction. Some viewers will feel sympathy for her. Some will feel none whatsoever. That's normal. But regardless of the emotion, it's worth understanding what a sentence like this actually means in practical human terms. Life without parole is not merely a legal phrase. It is the permanent transfer of a person from ordinary society into a controlled, institutional existence until death. That's what the judge imposed here.
And again, that's really also only if the sentence doesn't change over time. Things can change over time. I guess that is possible. The sentencing can change because, people don't always serve the sentences as they are given. I don't know how they always do it or why it happens, but that does happen in some cases.
And something extraordinary would have to happen on appeal to change that. So unless something extraordinary does happen on appeal, this is now her life. Not for a year, not for 10 years, forever. And honestly, that may explain why life without parole is viewed by many inmates as psychologically harsher than even extremely long determinate sentences like 99 years. Because hope changes. Hope becomes smaller. Hope becomes surviving next week. Sometimes it becomes surviving the next year. Sometimes it's simply preserving your sanity for another day and putting up with all of the routine. And eventually, prison life becomes less about freedom and more about adaptation. So when people ask, what will Kouri Richins' life be like now? The answer is probably this: highly structured, highly restricted, repetitive, emotionally isolated, institutionalized, and increasingly disconnected from the outside world as the years pass by. That's what life without parole actually means. The sentencing hearing, it lasted a day. The sentence lasts the rest of her life. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here today And if you're a new subscriber, a double thank you. It means a lot to me. One of the
All right. So this is JD, a lawyer explains. He's a friend of the channel. I'm going to invite him on the show at a point. I think he'd have a lot of interesting things to say. Please make sure to like the video because likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. And as always, super chat, super stickers, becoming a channel member, or gifting channel memberships. Great way to support the channel. Helps me pay for Shadow the Night Owl's soy-free hoodie snacks. And when you become a member or gift memberships, it gives people access to the members-only live streams, which is awesome. We have a grand old time in there. Q&As and chillin'-As, as I call them. So let's see.
From Eric's family, both.
This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
The sentencing of Kouri Richins. We're about to get into everything that happened in the courtroom on today's very special segment. It's called What the F Was That? The sentencing of Kouri Richins. That's right. She gets her own little intro right there because it.
Tony Bruschi tone. A little different than JD, a lawyer explains tone.
It was that. If you missed the 5-hour debacle, I'm going to sum it up for you, all of it here in this piece. On the program here, we're going to be doing also in 2 other separate segments that will be dropping for subscribers pretty much right away. They'll be out there here later on today when I drop this, but we'll be dropping them publicly on Friday. We're going to go through 2 specific parts of the sentencing, the part where the kids are reading or having their representative, their social workers read their statements, and watching Kouri's reactions, focusing on Kouri's reactions throughout. And then Kouri gave a 40-minute speech as well. I know it's Christmas in the true crime world when things like this happen, because it's just like it's a train wreck you can't look away from. There was a lot of emotion here this day from a lot of people, and I'm not trying to make light of that by any means. People's lives have been destroyed by this woman. Her flippant reactions to all of this, her 40-minute narcissistic rant, all of it just show how there's no way truly to get through to someone with this type of a personality. Nothing lands. It just doesn't. I made an analogy, or I came up with an analogy, I should say, today. I was thawing a piece of ice. Why do you do that? You just stop it. I had a bottle of juice in my fridge. It was way in the back. You ever get that where it gets and like it freezes solid? Been back there forever. I wanted to get rid of it. And so, but I didn't want to just throw a brick of ice in a juice box in the trash. So I wanted to thaw it. So I took hot water, out of the sink and then put it into the juice bottle to slowly try and melt the ice. I thought this is an interesting.
And I will say to the chat, I don't know if people heard what I said, but Kouri will probably get some street cred in prison for killing a man in particular. It's probably pretty popular amongst the ladies. Now, again, if it was someone else, like a kid or something, that'd be a different story. But it's not. It's a guy. And eventually some of them would say, what is it? He's a tool of the patriarchy, so thank goodness you did that. She'll still probably deny it, but she'll get cred for it.
Analogy, because the ice to me almost really represents someone like a Kouri. Like, was she always ice? Was she always this? When she came out of the factory, she was juice, if you will. Same with my thing of juice. But over time, she became so solidified and so dug into her way of thinking that she became this solid, rigid thing that is her, so incapable of accepting reality on reality's terms and dealing with the consequences of her actions, that no matter how hot the water, if you will, or the accusations or the confrontation against reality, she's still the damn ice cube. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, pour a little hot water on there and it all melts. No, I mean, I sat there for like, I thought this will take 2 seconds. Now, a good 5 minutes. I'm more ice, because the more ice you put on there, it just kind of cools around the edges. It gets a little smaller, but the only way you ever get rid of the ice is just by fully blasting it nonstop with hot water for a good period of time for it to fully melt. So when you're in a courtroom, and for a short period of time, the spigot is on, hot water is flowing at it. It's hitting it a little. It's not destroying it. It's not stopping. You're like, why isn't this melting faster? Because the damn thing is so solid. The damn thing is so rigid and deeply dug in and so solidified chemically beyond the control of anything a human being in that room can do. That's her brain. That there's no words that will ever fully land. Just like I can't just turn on the spigot and melt that thing of ice like that. No. Did it make it looks like it did something. Got a reaction out of it, but that's about all you can do. And it's just people.
I'm not sure if that would fly though for them, Snow Baby. Snow Baby says, but you hurt young children and dad and coach. There's still more victims. I don't know if they would really care, honestly. It depends. It depends because they would say, well, she didn't actually physically touch the kids. Now, the being abusive part, I mean, again, everyone who's in prison has done something for the very most part. Now, the only variables are, what did you do? Is it a violent crime? Is it a financial crime? Is it a what? What other crimes are there? Freaking fraud, finance, violent. It's really about it. Drug crimes, the other side, right? Dealing drugs or drug crimes. I mean, if you get like dealing drugs, for example, dealing drugs harms kids, but the people in prisons don't really care about that part, right? Now, if you sold maybe to a kid directly, maybe that would change it. But overall, you're selling drugs, it's going to get into kids' hands eventually. So, but I don't think they see that as, oh, you're harming kids. So it just depends, I would say.
People like Kouri, eventually they melt, maybe, or they just stay solid in their freezer room because people give up trying to melt them. And the freezer room is a prison cell, and eventually they die. And that's that's the story of Kouri Richins. That's the story of what's going to happen. But that's I think the frustration point with so many people and people like her is, why is this? They're like Teflon. Think of it like a cube of ice, big old chunk of ice. Like, yeah, you can spray some water on it. It's still gonna be pretty solid, because that little sprig of water that's flying on it is nothing compared to the lifespan of it in that fridge or that freezer for months. 2 seconds of hot water ain't gonna change it. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Anyway, a 9-year-old boy's words were read.
Now, one of my wild ideas was you can create a place that's like a prison, where if you're really having problems with gratitude in life, it's like spend a couple weeks in jail. Puh! You get out of there, then you'll come out and you'll be like, you'll see everything completely differently. When you lose all of your freedoms for a couple weeks to a month, then you come out, the whole world's different. You appreciate the little things. And so in a way, I wouldn't be surprised if people try to do that someday. You get this escape, from life, or you punish yourself in some way so that when you get out, you're completely motivated to do something and you're really more full of gratitude for what you have. So you have all the things that right now, like none of us are in jail right now. We're all free. And to an extent, many of us probably take it for granted a little bit that we're free. But if we were to lose that freedom, then you would really appreciate it. And you'd be like, holy mackerel. Like imagine if you were in prison at 12:20 a.m. Eastern time, it would be already lights out. Lights out in prisons like 9 or 10. And then you'd be like stuck in your cell. But here we are. We're able to do whatever. And that's something that if you were in prison right now, they would do anything to trade places with us. And so are we acting like there's people out there in the world that would do anything to trade places with us? Just an interesting thought exercise, I say.
Into the record of a courtroom in Park City, Utah. He didn't write them for attention. He wrote them because a therapist helped him put on paper what he'd been carrying since the night he woke up to sirens in his own house. This is what he said. Once she is gone, I will feel happy, I will feel safer and relaxed and trust people more. Nine-year-old. His mother, the woman he's talking about, was sitting 15 feet away when those words were read aloud. She rolled her eyes. Got a lot of this. The cameras caught it. Multiple outlets reported the same thing. You've probably seen it. We're gonna do a whole video on this on the channel here. By the time you're watching this, it'll probably be up. If not, watch for it. It's coming very shortly. We're gonna watch her reactions and work our way through it. While all three of her son's statements are being read by their therapist, statements describing locked rooms, dead animals, hunger, fear, a household where their mother was allegedly drunk or absent, Kouri Richins responded with visible contempt, eye rolls, scoffing, facial expressions, and according to every reporter in that room, and the cameras themselves conveyed something closer to irritation than grief. And then her brother stood up, called her innocent, talked about missing family game nights and finger gun dances and board games, and the tears came instantly. Not building, not breaking through like a faucet. When her sister-in-law described her as a devoted mother, Kouri dissolved. When a jail yoga instructor praised her attendance record, she wept. She's so good at showing up to yoga. Oh! When her kids are like, she's locking us in rooms and killing our pets. God. She killed our father. Oh, what? Oh, no, you did. That was Kouri Richins.
That's classic, the Tony Bruschi black woman routine. I'm going to rewind it. Shadow says, play that again, Jared. Play Tony Bruschi doing his black woman routine.
Instructor praised her attendance record. She wept. She's so good at showing up to yoga. Oh! When her kids are like, she's locking us in rooms and killing our pets. God. She killed our father. Oh, what? Oh, no, you did. That was Kouri Richins.
Oh, Tony's so white, Shadow said.
Want to sit with that for a second, because that split contempt with her children speaking, tears when she's being praised, is not a woman overwhelmed by emotion. That is selective empathy deployed like a tool. The only pain that registered in that courtroom was her own. Her children's suffering didn't just fail to move her, it annoyed her. That tells you more than about Kouri Richins than any verdict ever will. As I always say about narcissists, the narcissism always wins. Not the narcissists. They fail. They go down in history as the monsters that they are. And she was on full display in that courtroom of the monster that she is. The narcissism also on full display because it's completely enveloped her.
That's a good expression. The narcissism always wins. It doesn't mean they win in life, but their narcissism, their operating system, it wins. And I would say, yeah, usually so.
This was the sentencing. It was the sentencing hearing for Kouri Richins' case. May 13th, what would have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday. Judge Richard Marzik had two options on the table, 25 years to life or life without parole. 5 hours of testimony, victim impact statements from Eric's family, both his sisters, his brother-in-law, statements from all three boys read by their counselors, and then the defense's turn. Letters from Kouri's mother, her brothers, her sister, jail volunteers, church pastors, investors from her real estate business, and three strangers brought to argue against life without parole on philosophical grounds. And then Kouri herself, 40 minutes standing at a podium in a lime green jail uniform. And
so chat, Shadow and I are sending good vibes to Autumn. She lost one of the pets today named Claire. So send some good vibes and thoughts and prayers to Autumn, please, flock of black sheep.
handcuffs, reading from a prepared statement addressed to her sons. We're going to break that statement apart because I believe that allocation is one of the most psychologically revealing things that can happen in a case like this. And in a case that includes a children's grief book written by a woman convicted of creating the grief, it says something. But first, the boys, because you can't understand what Kouri did at that podium unless you understand what she was responding to. Her sons did not hold back. One of them described Kouri putting them in the basement after their father died while she went to see a neighbor. He described fear, confusion, helplessness. He said that when people mention Kouri's name, he feels hateful and ashamed. He says if he got out, he'd be terrified she'd come take him away from the family caring for him now. He's 9. Another one of the boys, 11 years old, looked at the situation and described becoming a parent to his younger brother because Kouri wasn't doing the job, walking him to the bus, feeding him, watching him. He described Kouri locking his brother in his room and him sneaking food through the door. He described a kitten left outside that was eaten by raccoons because Kouri wouldn't let him bring it in. Chickens and rabbits that froze or starved because nobody was allowed to care for them. He told the court Kouri showed them videos of starving children in war zones and they refused to eat undercooked food. And he said his mother never once said sorry for any of it.
So Kouri would show them scenes of kids from war zones that were starving. That reminds me of something my mom used to do, actually. Now, my mom was great, but when us kids would complain, she would get so mad because, we weren't rich or anything. And so to prove to us that we should be more grateful, she was going to go down to Camden to show us all the poor folks and drive there, which was, in retrospect, a pretty dangerous thing to try to do. But on the way, we got rear-ended. And so we never went. But that was the story of my mother trying to prove to us how grateful we should be.
It's a little kid. He's not even the oldest. The oldest, 13 now, 9 when his father died, said he thinks Kouri should get a life sentence because what she did was very sick. He said his dad was kind and thoughtful and always went the extra mile. He described waking up shaking the night Eric died, having a seizure, and later learning that Kouri had purchased additional fentanyl and had it in the house. He said he was locked in his room so often he couldn't remember if the lock was on the inside or the outside. He said he felt like he had to take care of his siblings. And then he said, I miss my dad, but I do not miss my life, how my life used to be. I don't miss Kouri. I will tell you that. Those are his words, 13-year-old. These aren't coach statements from adults whispering in kids' ears. These are specific, granular, lived-in memories. A dead kitten, the undercooked lasagna, the locked bedroom door, the videos of starving children used as punishment. No adult plants those details. Those are the things a child remembers because they happened to them. And they've seemingly amazingly processed a lot of this for their very young age. A lot of people are like, I couldn't do that. Well, thank your lucky stars. You were never put in that position. People are capable, children are capable of processing a lot of shit at young ages when most would go, they'll never understand. And I think that's the sin, if you will, of so many parents of, they're kids, they're resilient, they'll remember that. Yeah, they're resilient. They'll get through it. They'll remember it as much as you're like, they'll forget it. No, they won't. It will make an impact. It will guide future decisions. And
by the way, B, I hope you've been watching our videos here about clavicular. Like I've been saying, I had caught Shadow watching clavicular a couple times, and he was asking me about getting some peptides, and he was asking me about looks maxing too. And I said, nah, we have supplements and hootie snacks, soy-free hootie snacks, Shadow. You don't need to be injecting peptides and getting surgery on your jaw and snorting some white powders like clavicular. No, we don't need that. So I caught Shadow doing that, and I said, I'm going to steer you the right way, Shadow, even though Shadow is my right-hand man too. But I might also try to steer Clavicular in the right direction because I say I should try to mentor him. I say, you know what, Clavicular, I think you're in need of some guidance. So, flock of black sheep, be warned, I might try to do that. I might try to mentor the old Clavicular. He'd probably be like, what do you want from me, Grandpa? Grandpa Jared, what are you going to do? And I say, well, I'm 41, hardly even old enough to be your dad. I'm more like an uncle at this point is what I would be. You know, technically, I could be his dad if I had him at like 20. But still, you guys get the point. But I think also I should be trying to do that a little bit. You know, share the knowledge, share the info. And of course, I do that already on this channel. But I've also noticed not many young lads here, young men. Anyone else notice that? I've noticed that. I think Bethany might be the youngest person here at 38. I think she said she was, or 39.
And issues and anxieties and everything else that comes along with that type of treatment from the person that you supposedly love.
B, Shadow, can you believe that B has so little faith in me that she said that Clavicular would shred me? Man, B underestimates the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect, underestimates the Shepherd of Black Sheep as well.
I know because I've seen it firsthand in my world with my own child and one of their parents. Obviously, it's not me. Yeah, I mean, the shit that you have to try and process to understand things and what they are able to come to doesn't need and doesn't require the other parent going, here's a laundry list of all the horrible things they've done. They remember, they talk, they just kind of come to their own conclusions, and it's strikingly accurate usually. I was very taken aback watching this and hearing these kids' reactions, running it through my own experiences with my own child and the situations that we've gone through. With mental illness and a parent, it's I don't wish it on my worst enemy. I don't wish it on my worst enemy to have to be involved in that. If you got two healthy parents, think you're freaking lucky stars. Because being in any circle like this is horrifying. It's horrifying. I related a lot to this case. I lived, obviously, I'm here, but it got bad. I don't think I was very far from being this, honest to God. Not that there was necessarily, poisoning involved, but there was other things, and it really makes you aware of human beings around you. And I
bet you Kouri Richins is going to try to be a yoga instructor in jail. Shadow he has seen it through the crystal ball that we have back here. Shadow, I catch him looking at the crystal ball sometimes, and he said, Jared, I have foreseen Kouri Richins becoming a yoga instructor and then talking like Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk to the prisoners, perhaps. I can foresee it. Can you guys foresee it? I can.
Certainly questions your trust, and it certainly makes young people question their trust of others as well, without going into any sort of super great detail. But yeah, people are capable of absolutely horrendous, horrible, mind-bending things. And Kouri Richins certainly was one of them. And when they get called out, they don't take accountability. Of course. No. In a case like this, they stand up in court for 40 minutes, address your kids, and dismiss everything they've just said to you. Demand respect. To say you're not going to take those things you're saying. You're not going to accept that because you're their mother. But you'll be there for them. You'll be the martyr. You'll take the pain, and you'll exist when they finally come around to seeing the light. Yeah. What a bright light you are, bitch. She stood up for 40 minutes, addressed her sons, and I need you to understand the structure of what she did because the structure tells it all. She opened by blaming Katie and Clint Benson, Eric's sister and brother-in-law, who now have custody of the boys, for cutting off their communication. She spent several minutes detailing how she's been prevented from calling, how her letters are returned, how her birthday cards never arrive. She told the boys, she warned social services this would happen. Hey, bitch, just because you predict it's going to happen because people are going to prevent you from getting in contact with your kids because you're...
I mean, seriously, put yourself in the shoes of the people that have custody of Kouri's 3 kids. Are you going to let them get information from Kouri? Are you going to say, hey, your mom sent you mail from prison. Here you go. Or are you going to say, nah, we're not going to give her this? What would you do? Seriously, what would you do? Are you going to give her the information, give them the information, or do you withhold it? Or do you just return to sender? Which do you do?
You're a clear and present danger to them doesn't mean that your prediction means jack. You know it's going to happen because you're an awful human being. It's not because people are trying to prevent you from communicating with your children. They're preventing you from communicating with your children because they don't want them further traumatized by you. It's not a let's pick on Kouri thing, you stupid bitch. She told them the dark side of the...
Tony Bruschi letting it rip today when he doesn't have any former FBI agents in the queue, Robin Dreek or Jen Coffindoffer, or our psychotherapist friend Siobhan Scott. He'll let it fly. He lets it fly. Fly, fly, fly. Let it fly.
The family, the dark side of the family, fought for custody but was denied. But she acknowledged even once why she is separated from her children. Yeah. Before she reckoned for even a sentence with the fact that the jury unanimously found she killed their father. She made herself the wronged party, and the people caring for her sons were the villains. That was her opening move. Not, I'm sorry you're going through this. Not, I understand why you're angry. The opening move was, they did this to us. I will say this. She did say, I know you're angry. Not, I understand why you're angry. Not registering it. But you are. And that's an inconvenience to her. Then the refrain, where she tried to be somewhat ironic. And I don't know what the fuck she was really trying to do, but it didn't land well. Be like your dad. She said it again and again through the statement. Be generous like your dad. Love the mountains like your dad. Laugh loud like your dad. Build a family like your dad. And then marry a psychotic CUNT like me.
I mean, I would ask Kouri, it'd be like, what are you going for here? You trying to go for no accountability so you can hold up and get a new trial? Is that what you're going for? Because however else you were going for there, I don't think it really helps your cause. That's for sure.
And don't get killed. Honest to God, that's going to be a bit of a battle, I think, for these kids, not to fall for someone like their mom. Because it's ingrained at such an early age. But, they're young.
And that's a good point there by Tony. He's been spending a lot of time with Dr. Siobhan Scott. So if that's your mother, and a little bit of you was conditioned to believe that's what love is supposed to look like, in a way, the 3 kids now, they're unsubscribed. And I wonder if they have any conflicted feelings about it. They didn't communicate them if so. But it's pretty impressive if they all really see through it. None of them take her side at all in any way. Good for them. Good for them, I would say.
They're moldable. And I hope to God with enough therapy and guidance and good people around them that does not become an issue. Be like your dad. And I know how that sounds in isolation. If you're just like scanning ahead of the video and you're hearing that, oh, isn't that nice? It sounds like love. It sounds like a mother honoring the man she lost. But Kouri Richins didn't lose Eric. She took Eric. She was convicted of attempting it once on Valentine's Day with a laced sandwich, failing, spending 17 days recalibrating, and finishing the job with a cocktail containing approximately 5 times a lethal dose of fentanyl. She was convicted of doing this for money, for insurance payouts, for his estate, for a financial escape hatch from millions of debt that she created. So when she stands at a podium and tells these boys to be like your dad, she's not grieving. She's constructing a defense. The implied argument is devastating in its audacity. How could I have killed a man? I'm telling my sons to.
On a side note, I was watching some of Brian Nitton's video today about Nancy Guthrie. They're mentioning the cold case word, the officials in the case, starting to mention that word, cold case. Brian was disappointed to hear it, but it is kind of getting thrown out there a little bit now.
Emulate. That line is not for 3 children. That is for appeal. It's for cameras. It's for everybody out there who's an idiot, who believes her shit. It's for the inevitable documentary. It is reputation management dressed up as a mother's love. I want to say this too about Kouri. If you think she's innocent, congratulations. You've never dealt with anybody like this in your life. And if you have, you've probably been taken advantage of quite heavily. Or you've never been on the receiving end of this type of behavior. If you have or had and understood it and looked it up and studied it and learned how to not become victims of people like this over and over again, then you know what the hell she is. She's not. She is a wolf in sheep's clothing, but the wolf costume came from a closed down Halloween Express store. I mean, really, because it's like you're like, oh, where did you get that? Like, is that supposed to be a wolf? Okay, yeah, it's not done well. It's not Fredericks of Hollywood's, although that's kind of a lingerie. I'm trying to think of like a Hollywood. It's not central casting. It's not central casting costume quality. It's not. This is Halloween Express all the way. It's obvious to those who know what to look for. If you've never seen a wolf before and somebody's in a Halloween Express wolf costume, you're like, what is that over there? If you've seen a wolf, you're like, that's a real shitty looking wolf. Like, what's up? What's going on over there? This is the same woman who, after Eric died, wrote a children's book called Are You With Me? About a boy grieving his father's death. She dedicated it to Eric. She went to the local ABC affiliate to promote it. She positioned herself as the compassionate widow helping children process loss, while prosecutors allege she was the one who actually caused it. The grief book, the Be Like Your Dad refrain at the sentencing, it's the same move. Perform devotion so publicly and so loudly that nobody thinks to ask the obvious questions underneath. Except they are, and we will, and it's happening, and you're going to be locked away forever. Then came the part that, in my opinion, crosses from manipulation to something a lot darker. She told her boys, the same boys who had just told the court that they were scared of her, that they were locked in rooms, that they watched animals die, that they don't feel safe. She told them that they've been influenced into believing their father was taken from them. She called it completely wrong and an absolute lie. She said it's as absurd today as it was 4 years ago. She didn't address the locked room. She didn't address the dead animals. She didn't address the starvation fear. She didn't address a single specific thing her children said.
I don't even really know what the defense's case was for Kouri. They're really just trying to frame it as an OD, right? That's the only thing they could do. Don't think they really did a good job of framing it that way, though.
He dismissed the entire reality these boys described as fabrication. She told traumatized children, her own traumatized children, that their memories are wrong, and that the people who finally made them feel safe are the ones lying to them. Exhale.
Inhale the good shit, exhale the bullshit, is what they say. Now, please remember to like the video because likes are free. Spank the like button. Leave your DNA of choice on the like button. Say hello to Shadow the Night Owl, my right-hand man. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. We also have a fair amount of school of Pisces fish. A good-sized school of Pisces fish. And as always, super chats, super stickers, becoming a channel member, gifting channel memberships. Great way to support the channel. Helps me pay for Shadow the Night Owl soy-free hoodie snacks. And when you're a member, you get access to the members-only live streams, which are a rockin' and rollin' time. And thank you very much for all of the support I've gotten so far.
Narcissistic much? It is 1000% narcissistic behavior. I'm not diagnosing her. Can't do that. But I can guarantee with a certain degree of certainty, in my opinion, this bitch checks the boxes. People like this, they have a little bit of a pattern. It kind of goes like this. That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. If it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserve it. Kouri's allocation hit at least 4 of those in 40 minutes. Some of them in 40 seconds. It didn't happen. She maintains complete innocence. If it did, it's not her fault. The system is corrupt. The investigation was flawed. If it was bad, well, then the boys have been influenced into thinking so. And underneath everything, the steady implication, I'm the real one suffering here. Then she told the boys to ignore the noise. She told them to question what they've been told. She told them to listen to your little hearts and remember who we are. She told them to be suspicious of people who judge them and trust only those who've proven their loyalty. In a vacuum, that's a mother's encouragement aimed at
Proven their loyalty? It's kind of like what someone in a cult would say.
Children in therapy who are finally processing their trauma in a stable environment. It is an instruction to reject the healing and cling to the version of reality she is selling from a jail cell. She couldn't resist one more move. She folded her affair into a narrative of shared fault. I fell in love with someone who wasn't your dad, she told the boys. Your dad fell in love with someone who wasn't me. Equal blame. Mutual imperfection. She took the motive prosecutors proved at trial, the documented relationship, the text messages, fantasizing about leaving Eric and keeping the money, and repackaged it as something that happened to both of them. Two flawed people in a complicated marriage, not a woman who, according to the evidence presented to a jury and the world, was building an exit strategy that required her husband's death. I know. Then she threatened to stalk them. I will call you even if you block my numbers. I will. It's like, what? You're talking about stalking your children once you get released? You're not getting released. Oh, but she'll find her way out. Oh. Now, the message she sent after the verdict, prosecutors included it in their sentencing memo, and it deserves to be read in full for what it reveals. She texted an unidentified admirer from jail. Quote, I will expose this county, the prosecution, the judge, the Richins, the investigation, all of it, so they can lock me away for now. That's fine. It's going to come back on them. They picked the wrong one. They think sentencing is the end, closure. It's just the beginning. They haven't seen anything yet. She ended it with a winking emoji. A woman convicted of murdering her husband, the father of her 3 children, who is now being in court, begging in court to keep them safe from her, sent a message promising vengeance and punctuated with a winky face to an anonymous admirer. It's not someone grappling with consequences. That is someone who still believes the rules don't apply to her. The jury was wrong. The judge is corrupt. The investigation was a setup. Everybody else is the problem. The narcissistic framework cannot accommodate the possibility that she is responsible for any of this. So everyone involved must be lying, corrupt, or conspiring against her. Judge Marzik saw through it. His sentencing was measured, almost understated, which made it hit harder. He acknowledged the genuine tension in the decision that life without parole might someday feel wrong to the boys if they ever want a relationship with their mother, and that 25 to life might leave them spending decades afraid that she will get out. He didn't pretend the decision was simple, and then he described the facts of the conviction, the attempt, the 7-day gap, the completion, the motive, poison, money. And he said a person convicted of that sequence is simply too dangerous to ever be free. And the fact that she just stood up and said she's going to stalk them. He ordered every count consecutive: life without parole on the aggravated murder, 5 to life on the attempted murder, 1 to 15 on each insurance fraud count, up to 5 on the forgery. The defense asked for concurrent sentences. The judge said, no way. Outside the courthouse, Eric's sister Amy spoke to reporters. She was composed. She didn't celebrate. She said something that stayed with, I think, a lot of us. I don't think she had any remorse. She lives in her own little world. And she does. That world, her own little world. Because what we watched in that courtroom wasn't a sentencing hearing. It was a collision between two realities. One reality is the one those 3 boys described: a house where the locks were on the wrong side of the door, where the animals died in cages, where a mother was drunk or gone or dangerous, and where the man who held everything together was taken from them. The one reality is the one Kouri has been constructing since the night Eric died, or the other reality is the one Kouri has been constructing since the night Eric died, one where she's a devoted mother, a grieving widow, a best-selling author of a children's book about loss, a woman railroaded by a corrupt system, a martyr whose insurance will eventually, or innocence will eventually shine through, since the insurance money didn't. Those two realities can't coexist. The jury chose one, the judge chose one, and those boys chose one. In their own words, on their own paper, in their own handwriting, they chose one too. Kouri's allocation was 40 minutes long. She used it to tell her children to ignore what they know, to distrust the people keeping them safe, and to wait for her to come back and fix everything. She told them she didn't do this. She told them she never would. She told them to be like the man she was convicted of killing. And when they said they were afraid of her, she said she'll find them. And then she was let out in handcuffs to begin the rest of her life in a cell. One of her boys had already said everything that needed to be said. He's 13. He told the court he misses his dad. He told the court he does not miss Kouri. He said he started to feel really good when he moved into a safe place because the people around me were safe. This kid isn't confused. He isn't brainwashed. He's a boy who finally lives somewhere. The locks are on the right side of the door, and no performance for a podium, no matter how long, no matter how rehearsed, no matter how many times you say, be like your dad, will make him forget what it was like when they weren't. Your thoughts in the comment section on Substack and YouTube. I'd love for you to weigh in. Again, this here has been WTF Was That? The sentencing of Kouri Richins. We have more to come. We're going to actually go through the boys' statements and Kouri's statements. That's coming up here on the podcast. Be sure to press subscribe. We're going to watch them in entirety with reactions. We'll probably pause a little bit through there. But we're going to get a chance to share in that magic together. So join me, shall you? We'll nod out to Adam, the Woo, R.I.P. And we'll continue that here on the channel. So press subscribe. We'll continue our conversation in the comments. Links are in the description. Until then, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press
welcome to tonight's live stream. I am so excited about tonight's show.
This is Lawyer Lee, another friend of the channel. Shadow and I like her. Make sure you like the video while you're out here too, though. Subscribe to the channel. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat.
Tonight, I want to do something a little different. We've talked a lot about the evidence in the Kouri Richins case, the words that people have said, and in all the cases we've covered. But tonight, I want to focus on Kouri Richins' reactions in court at the sentencing. I think we can learn a lot about what she's thinking from that. Sometimes her reactions seem very internal, very controlled, almost like little flashes of very genuine emotion that break through. But other times they feel much bigger and more deliberate, in my opinion, and more outward facing, as if she's trying to communicate something. So I want to talk about that. That raises a really interesting question. Who exactly is the audience for her, for these reactions? Is it the judge? Is it Eric's family or whoever is speaking at the time she's reacting? Is it her lawyers? Is it her children someday who may watch back and see the sentencing? Or are we the audience? So because by the end of this hearing, I started to think Kouri Richins was not just reacting emotionally. I think she was very aware of the cameras and very aware that the public was watching and interpreting every expression on her face. So as we dive in and get into our clips, if you would please hit the like button. That will help YouTube know we're here, alive, and ready to go. And subscribe if you haven't yet. We would love to have you back for more cases. All right, so let's start with how Kouri Richins reacted to the judge. The judge was talking about the dilemma. We covered it last night. We covered the letters from Kouri's children and how the judge dealt with a dilemma that was presented to him by the defense. You can watch that back. If you haven't watched it yet, YouTube will probably link it at the end, or I'll put it on there. So the judge was talking about how he wanted to make sure that no matter what the sentence was, he wasn't harming the children more than they had already been harmed. And he was saying, that's really difficult to do because no matter what I do, there's the risk of harm to them. So that's what he was talking about. And I want you to watch Kouri's reaction as we watch this clip.
If the court sentences Ms. Richins to life without parole, one or more of those young men may come to resent that the court eliminated any opportunity they might have in the future, decades into the future, to express an opinion as adults with substantial life experience about whether their mother should, for example, be allowed to die with dignity. On the other hand, if the court sentences Ms. Richins to 25 to life, one or more of those young men may spend the next 30 years questioning why the court failed to protect them from the prospect of the person who murdered their father being released from prison at some time in the distant future, perhaps when they have families and children of their own.
All right, so I'm going to play a shorter clip within that after we talk about it so you can kind of focus on something. And I want you to watch something. When he mentions the concept of her dying with dignity, I want you to kind of watch. She recoils just a tiny bit when he talks about that. Up until now, probably the idea that she would die alone inside a prison, having never come out, has probably not really occurred to her. This was probably a new thought. It's not that she didn't conceptually understand what the consequences would be at the end of the trial, but it's that I don't think it had sunk in. So you see first just kind of a very tiny recoil backward, just slight. And then there's a slight delay. And I think she kind of tries to hold it in, but it's followed by a much bigger move back. She moves her whole body back, moves her lips, reacts clearly upset by the idea of this. So let's watch that back a little more closely.
Whether their mother should, for example, be allowed to die with dignity.
Slight.
On the other hand, If the court sentences
Now
Ms.
she just
Richins
can't,
to
she just kind
25
of
to
settled
life,
back away from that.
a person of
Okay, let's stop there. So I also want to play her reaction to the verdict. And I'm doing this very intentionally. I'm starting with how she reacted to the court because I think it's pretty different from how she reacts later in some of the other clips. And I want you to be able to compare the two, kind of the measured, very careful reaction when the court is there versus the reaction later. All right, let's go ahead and play this.
convicted of committing that sequence of acts in that way and for that reason, and who causes the absolute tragedy that has befallen Eric Richins' sons and family. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free. Accordingly, Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 1, first-degree felony aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to life without parole. You have the right to an appeal.
Okay, and there are a couple of things I want you to notice in that. First of all, let's just start with the body language. And let's, as we look at that, notice how her head is down and her eyes are staring up at the judge. It's an aggressive stance, an angry stance. She's waiting, but it's expressive. And then she overtly rolls her eyes at the idea that she is too dangerous to ever be let out of prison. That's, to her, absurd. She appears to find that absurd. And then you notice the very large mouth movement after that. A lot of contempt, a lot of anger and hostility in her reaction to this. She does not accept this as accurate. She doesn't accept what the judge thinks of her. But there is recognition that even if she doesn't like it, it is her reality. And then she nods, says, yep, I figured. That's what I expected. She, I would guess, did not expect anything more. And I wanted to show you this clip for a couple of reasons. The first, I believe this is fairly natural reaction for her. And by that, I mean that this is, it's significant enough for you to know what she's thinking and to understand what she probably thinks about what is being said. But I think it's more internal. I don't think this is projecting a communication in the way you're going to see later. I think it's much more understated when she's talking or when she's reacting to what the court says. And then also, secondly, I want you to think about the fact that I don't think she is at all surprised by the sentence. And I don't think anyone who watched the trial would be truly surprised by the sentence. Let me make myself a little bit bigger so you can see me. So the judge clearly did not like the defense and the interactions with the defense. I would imagine her lawyers told you it's very likely, based on his reaction throughout the trial, that he's going to give you life without parole. That's what we expect. I am sure they told her that. It's certainly what I expected. I didn't think there was any suspense there. But that's going to be important for something we talk about later. So when she's not surprised and does have some contempt, but is holding it down, this is sort of her reaction. Intense motions, but they're very small and understated. I mean, she has to be careful. She's in court, right? And we'll watch a portion of it again so you can see that.
A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free.
Rolled eye.
Accordingly, Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 1, first-degree felony aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to life without parole.
So she made no,
You have the right
yeah,
to
I
appeal.
figured. So she, and in that motion, I think she tells her, yep, that's pretty much what I figured it was going to be. I'm not surprised. And that's going to matter later. Now, I want to contrast what you just saw with how Kouri Richins reacts during the course of the sentencing hearing, because I think it's pretty different. I don't think that this is just body language showing her internal reactions like you just saw. I think she is using body language intentionally to communicate. And I want us to think about two questions. What is she communicating? That's obviously important.
I mean, and she's in a position now where, like, what do you have to lose now? The only thing you can lose really is an appeal attempt or a new trial. That's what you can lose. And you'll lose whatever could happen in that new trial. But I mean, is there anything that can turn around for her in a new trial that would change the outcome? I don't think so. I think she's toast. So, when you are someone that's toast, someone who's toast can become a dangerous person. Because when you have nothing to lose, someone with nothing to lose is a dangerous person.
No, that's going to matter. She's pretty expressive. Often that will be highly clear. You will really know already immediately what she is communicating. But then there's a second question I think is important, which is, who is the audience here? Who is this message being sent out to? Now, I've tried to focus on her, make it the area around her, make her large so you can see her well and watch it. And we're going to look at a little clip. Initially, we're going to start with the state. The state is asking the court to order Kouri to pay restitution. Now, she can't really pay restitution. All of this is somewhat of a fiction within the court system. She'll be ordered to pay restitution, but for a prisoner who is going to spend life in prison or most of their lives in prison, the concept of being able to pay millions of dollars in restitution is not ever fully going to happen. It's going to be a portion of any money that comes into her will not go to her account. Instead, it will go to restitution. So that's the reality of how it will play out in practical terms for her. The state has already told the court that she needs to pay millions to two insurance companies who paid out Eric's insurance policies and should not have.
And Melinda, that's a very good point. So the way she communicates just with her body language, it shows you what? That she's a handful, right? She's a handful in a situation where there's no oversight, no judge, no cameras, no nothing. She's probably a nightmare. She probably is abusive. She's probably histrionic, narcissistic, all of it, psychopathic even. She would be someone that, again, if anywhere she would be on her best behavior, it would be a situation like this. And we don't really see it. We see glimpses. We see glimpses of what she's probably like behind closed doors. And glimpses of why her children said what they did is really what we saw, right? So the kids say, yeah, we don't want her. We want her to be in jail. How bad do you think a woman has to be for all three of her sons to say that? Well, you have to kill their father for one, but it's probably not just that. Because let's say if the father was very abusive to the kids and to her, maybe sons would be a little more understanding in that case. But that is not, I think, what happened here at all. So between that and just how she treated the kids herself, I think she got them to be against her.
Had to pay those out. Now, on top of that, the prosecutor is going to ask now for a large amount to reimburse Summit County for the investigation, for the enforcement action. So here's the reaction to that.
They request that the court order the defendant to pay recoupment to Summit County in the amount of $1,391,943.
So, okay, clear reaction. She lowers her head, showing how skeptical she is. Like, really? You think I'm going to pay that? And she then very dramatically purses her lips, looks away, makes a very dramatic lips down. So I'm like, sure, that's going to happen. Sort of reaction. A reaction that says, I'm not going to be able to pay that. Go ahead and try. It's not happening. And she's just expressing contempt for the idea that this is going to happen. Her belief that this is an absurd request of someone who is going to be spending most of their lives, she doesn't yet know the final sentence, but the majority of life inside a prison.
Kouri, the state requests that the court order the defendant to pay recoupment to Summit County in the amount of $1,391,943. $943.
Okay, so you can see that reaction. Now, these are big reactions and communications, I think.
The money stuff always gets her going. I mean, that's Kouri's fuel, is money. You can sense it in how much she cares. Even in the initial guilty verdict, she even looked her head up when money was mentioned. She had her head down the whole time. Money is mentioned, head up, up. Okay.
But notice that the prosecutor can't see Kouri, right? The prosecutor is turned away from her. So this is not communication to the prosecutor. And the judge is not going to be favorably impressed by this. And she knows that. She knows that the judge is not going to like this and that the judge already views her unfavorably. So I also do not believe it's communication to the judge. In this particular instance, and there are some others we'll look at, I also think she's not communicating with her lawyers because she's not turning to them and speaking to them. This is just a reaction, but it's too dramatic, really, to just be a reflection of sort of her internal reaction and what she's thinking. Now, we saw those in terms of what the court was saying, and this is more dramatic, as you can see. It doesn't. She clearly doesn't like the prosecutor. That's not really a surprise in a case like this. She does not mind showing how she feels about him, but the reactions become much bigger and more obvious. I should make this a little larger, much bigger and more obvious in what you are about to see, because what we are about to see is her reactions as the family is speaking. Now, there is clear and marked hostility between Eric's family, the Richins family, and between Kouri. It was truly sad to see that in the course of the sentencing and to see how much the children have been damaged by what they have been through. Now, I covered the children in last night's video. Tonight, I want to focus on Kouri and her reaction. One thing I want you to notice as she reacts to the two sisters, you're about to see them talk, is that there's no attempt to hide this. There's no attempt to sort of tamp this down and to keep it from being shown. It's very open how she feels about it. And we saw her reaction to the judge. I think this is intended more as communication. And ask yourself, to whom? Who's she talking to? This is Katie, what you're going to watch first, Kouri Richins Benson. We're going to watch several clips from her. She is Eric's sister, or was Eric's sister. She was Kouri's sister-in-law, and she's making her victim impact statement, talking about how Eric's death has affected her. So you're going to see Kouri lower her head while glaring, while aggressive and hostile, sort of clearly skeptical. And you're going to see, quite obviously, Kouri show us that she believes what Katie is saying is just wrong. You're going to see it happen repeatedly.
Those mischaracterizations were nothing more than a vile effort to deflect blame. And those mischaracterizations stand in stark contrast to the reality of the man we all knew and loved. And they have to go through life without their dad because their mother planned and carried out his murder. She could not have done anything more selfish or more cruel to those boys. In the place of a stable, secure, and loving home, Kouri gave the boys permanent trauma. They were in the house the night she killed their father. They were awake. They knew that something terrible had happened to their dad. But Eric's 3 innocent sons will bear that burden, and they will bear it for the rest of their lives. Kouri's selfishness and cruelty did not end with Eric's murder. In the time after Eric's death, Kouri has done nothing but isolate, manipulate, deceive, and do harm to those boys.
So from here on, I'm not going to play the clips twice. If you want to see them again, and I don't blame you, I like to watch those back a lot myself, just back up a little bit and watch it over again. But I'm going to move forward because I had so many clips I wanted to show you. And I thought if I put these all in twice, we're never going to finish. So I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about, before you watch it, what you should look for. So in this next clip, you're going to see her take it further. In this clip, she's going to turn to her attorney as if to find out if someone else agrees with her about how.
Small world, isn't it, that JLR's last name is the same. I mean, JLR's madness is a different flavor of madness than Kouri's is. But don't get it twisted. It's certainly a flavor of madness as well.
Wrong, these comments by Katie are. And then you're going to see one huge reaction suggesting she cannot believe Katie is saying that Kouri held the boys hostage in order to get the trust assets, that is clearly incorrect.
Almost immediately after.
I mean, what you can also say is all these expressions, what do they demonstrate? They demonstrate a lack of empathy. Right? They demonstrate a lack of compassion. They demonstrate extreme self-centeredness. They demonstrate entitlement, a grandiosity. They demonstrate all these negative things about her, right? Nowhere do you see the expressions of, oh man, maybe I did hurt my kids, or maybe I did fuck up here. You don't really hear that, or you don't see that, I should say. But also, please remember to like the video because likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. We got a great group of folks in here. And super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting memberships. Great way to support the channel. Helps me pay for Shadow the Night Owl's soy-free hoodie snacks. And the memberships give you access to the members-only live streams. So, and again, thank you very much for all the support I've gotten so far.
After Eric died, she cut them off completely from our family, from Eric's family. The isolation was calculated and strategic. Kouri used the boys as bargaining chips with my dad. She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. When DCFS took custody of the.
And remember, it's Riches. JLR is Riches, not Richins. RICHES versus RICHINS.
The boys following Kouri's arrest and asked where they would like to go. They expressed fear of my family. The fear was not based on reality, but on what they had been told. For over a year, Kouri led them to believe that I hated them, that I was attempting to take Eric's money for myself, and that I intended for them to be left without support, that they would be homeless and starving. These statements were entirely false and had no basis in reality. Had they not been subjected to that influence, they would have known the truth.
And actually, I was incorrect. I actually did have one more double clip for you because I really wanted you to see that extremely large reaction one more time. And after that, we'll go to just a single clip, but I wanted you to see that specifically again.
She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons
it looks like
unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her.
Eric's sister is who's talking right now.
Her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. Prior to Eric's.
Okay, let's stop right there. So clearly not a subtle reaction, right? In fact, it's very dramatic. Kouri is clearly signaling that she believes Katie is wrong, that she believes Katie is maybe misrepresenting what happened. But here's a question. Who is supposed to be picking up this signal? If Kouri's trying to send out a message, who is supposed to be getting that message? I'm going to talk about my view at the end of the clip, but I just want you to be conscious of that and thinking about it because I think it's a really important question. And I think it says a lot about why this is happening. So I think that's pretty important. All right, so next clip.
Death. Our families were very close. Our families shared holidays, worked together on our family ranch, took trips together, and I was present the day each of the boys were born in the hospital. The boys have expressed their confusion about these circumstances. They have stated that prior to their father's passing, both Eric and Kouri frequently told them if anything were to happen, they should go with me, that I would care for them and support them. Following Eric's death, however, those messages changed. After Eric passed away, Kouri prevented all contact between our family and the boys. She prohibited communication and continued to provide them of false information about us. When we were finally able to see the boys again, approximately 15 months after Eric's death, the boys hardly recognized the relationship we had. Instead, they viewed my family and me with fear and hesitation as though we were strangers.
Okay, and here's another dramatic reaction you're about to see. Take a look at this one.
She drained the personal bank accounts that Eric had set up for his boys as college funds. She allowed the boys' Social Security survivor benefits to be funneled to individuals who were not taking care of the boys. And she sued me in my role as Eric's trustee and personal representative, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. The goal of her lawsuits is singular. She wants all of Eric's assets for herself. Despite her lies and fanciful public portrayal.
So you see, I think her word there was probably, oh, wow, again, that she is communicating that she absolutely.
So imagine if Kouri could be actually speaking to the sister-in-law now. What would Kouri be doing? Kouri would be absolutely gaslighting the hell out of her and invalidating her perception of reality, telling her she's crazy, telling her there's something wrong with her, telling her that she needs mental help. You better believe those are the things that Kouri would be saying. If her expressions could talk, that's what they would be saying. Does anyone disagree?
Disbelieves what Katie is saying. Now, she didn't react when Katie initially said that Kouri was draining the boys' personal bank accounts. No reaction there. She didn't react to the Social Security survivor benefits going to someone not caring directly for the boys. But from her reaction, she clearly thinks something in what was said is false. It's just not entirely clear exactly what in there she really vehemently disagreed with. So in this next section, I want you to watch how Kouri shakes her head no several times in very small movements. She says no to what Eric wanted to be done with his money, because Katie's going to set out, this is what Eric wanted. He wanted the boys to have the money, and she's going to disagree with that in this next section.
She knows that none of Eric's assets are going to me, my dad, or my sister. In fact, she knows exactly where Eric wanted everything to go, and that is to his boys. And yet for 4 years, she has aggressively tried to take their inheritance from them. Even now, despite her erroneous debt, a murder conviction, and a string of pending felony financial charges, Kouri's civil lawsuits live on.
Now, in this next section, you're going to see her look just incredulous. She cannot believe what Katie is saying, and you're going to watch that in the body language as she reacts.
Those lawsuits have been emotionally grueling, all-consuming, and unimaginably expensive. And tragically, every dollar on those suits is a dollar that Eric's boys will not get. Of course, Kouri can't have other people or the public thinking that she's trying to take away her children's inheritance. So for the past 4 years, both in court and in the media, she has demonized and vilified me. She has hurled wild accusations in my direction, including that I hacked her bank accounts, forged her bank statements, paid off witnesses, unduly pressured law enforcement into investigating her, and quietly pulled the Summit County prosecutor strings. It is despicable that for doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Kouri has cast me as the evildoer here.
Okay, so I keep saying I'm not going to play back anything. I'm going to play back one more little clip here. I want you to watch Kouri's mouth reaction, because that's stronger than most of her other reactions. So Katie is saying that Kouri accused Katie of all kinds of terrible things, and Kouri's reaction is very different. I don't think she's necessarily denying this with her reaction. I think she maybe looks more, well, you decide. I'm going to tell you at the end what I think. Let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more.
Pressured law enforcement into investigating her and quietly pulled the Summit County prosecutor strings. It is despicable that for doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Kouri has cast me as the evildoer here. Just as bad, honoring.
Okay, so let's stop there before we get on to the next clip. And so I wanted you to see that because I think she looks more embarrassed at that she looks more like, okay, well, maybe I did say that. That's how I read that, as opposed to some of the other clips we saw where she clearly was communicating to us that that did not happen. That is not the truth about it. So I'm leaving this next section in for let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more, and then we'll talk about the section after that.
Eric's wishes has landed my sister and myself, and unbelievably, my 2 daughters in Kouri's crosshairs.
Okay, so that sets it up for us. Katie is now going to talk about the Walk the Dog letter. And in the Walk the Dog letter, there's actually a statement that about how Kouri is talking to her mother and says that one way to get back at the Richins would be to out information about Katie's girls, and made a statement to the effect of, even if that meant that my boys get exposed, that would really get her. I don't know if you'll be able to do that, and no problem if you can't. I'm completely paraphrasing, but that was sort of the gist of what she said in that. So that's what Katie is going to be talking about. She's going to be talking about how this was appalling. And we do know that Kouri said something very much like what I just said, because we've seen the Walk the Dog letter. And we know that Kouri says she was writing a novel and said that was the explanation for the letter. But we know she actually wrote it. She didn't deny that. She just denied the reason that she wrote it. But I want you to notice how different Kouri's reactions are here, because there are a lot more mouth movements, a lot fewer obvious outright rejections of what Katie is going to say here.
One of Eric's sons recently told me that Kouri used to say, "I will get them one day." Apparently, she was talking about me, my sister, and my daughters. Her infamous Walk the Dog letter, the part the jury did not hear, confirms her desire to harm me. In it, she talks at length about her plans to get at Amy and me, including by targeting my daughters, both of whom are under the age of 10. It takes a sick mind to target children.
All right, so give me your thought about whether you think that's a little bit different. It's more difficult for her to reject that because it was in the letter that she acknowledged writing, even though she said later that it was a novel.
Everyone in the chat should give some good vibes to Bella, because I know her mom's in the hospital. So Shadow gives some good vibes as well. It's been rough few months here for Bella. So we're thinking about you, Bella.
Novel that she was writing. But she gets back then to the same sorts of reactions that she had had earlier.
The mere thought that someone who has so little regard for human life or decency might one day walk free is horrifying. I worry about the safety of Eric's boys, my daughters, my sister, and myself. There is nothing Kouri will not do, and no one she will not hurt to achieve her own selfish ends. I am not the only one that is afraid. There are 3 little boys who, instead of fearing those who love and adore them, as Kouri would prefer, worry constantly that Kouri might show up one day and take them away. Eric's sons deserve so much better. They are not bargaining chips.
Well, let's stop there before we go too far. So notice how skeptical she looked at that, and you're about to see a real hit that lands with her about the children's book that she wrote. And you're going to see that mouth motion again, characteristic you're going to see come back several times over. And I appreciate Marlon has not one of our longtime mods, along with Mama Pinks. I'm very grateful to them. Has been a member for 26 months. That's as long as we've had members. So thank you, Marlon. And is saying, please, let's do some likes. I would be very grateful for that. Thank you, Marlon.
Cash cows. They are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss. And yet that is what they've been reduced to by Kouri. They are not bargaining.
You saw the mouth go in and like, okay, there was a book. That's sort of how I read that. Yes, okay, there was in fact a book, and there has been a lot of drama around the book for her, obviously. All right, so Katie is going to tell the judge now something that I think is going to surprise Kouri. She's going to tell the judge that she tried to get Eric to leave the marriage with Kouri, but he didn't want to because he was afraid to leave the children with Kouri. Now, she's going to say some more around that is going to register as, I think, true surprise from Kouri. And you will see that reaction. So let's go ahead and watch that.
Chips. They are not cash cows. They are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss. And yet that is what they've been reduced to by Kouri. He told me he would live his life through hell every single day of his life until his youngest was 18 because he believed Kouri was the most evil person he had ever met. He knew that his sons did not like her. He told me as much many times. He knew that they would prefer to be far away from her, but he also knew that divorce carried significant risks. And he said he could never allow his children to spend half of their time alone with her because he was certain they would be exposed to harm and things no child should ever experience.
Now, that's an interesting dilemma, right? What do you do in that case? Do you stick it out because of the kids? And again, it's a cautionary tale, right? So this is a possibility of what can happen if you stick it out. You basically sacrifice yourself. Now, of course, he didn't think he was sacrificing himself in this way, but still, what do you do? What do you do? I guess, I mean, like, ideally, you figure all this out before you have 3 kids with someone. That's what you ideally do, of course, right? But not everyone knows about this kind of thing. The flock of black sheep knows. But once you have 3 kids with someone, I mean, at best, it would be a co-parenting, which is really counter-parenting situation. But then they're so bad, she's so bad, that he wouldn't even want the kids to spend any time with her. In which case you can try to, I guess, revoke custody, maybe? But chat, what would you do? What would you do in this situation? So this is a man sticking it out with a woman, but maybe put yourself in the woman's shoes, and there's a terrible man. The man's terrible. What would you do? Would you stick it out so they wouldn't have to spend time alone with a terrible guy? What would you do? I don't know.
Experience. He made it clear that in his mind, if Kouri were given equal custody, his children would be in the care of someone he believed to be deeply dangerous. He feared the people they could be exposed to and the damage that could be done. At the same time, he spoke with deep love and admiration for his boys.
Okay, so you can see clearly how surprised she is at that. That the idea that Eric thought she was evil. And then she goes into very strong reactions, which I think are a communication to telegraph that she does not believe what Katie is saying. She does not believe Eric said that. You see an old brother eye roll at the idea that Kouri might try to track her boys down and endanger them in the next clip. And I think these are 2 of the most dramatic.
So Linda says, no, you should not stick it out for the children. You should leave and get help to get out of a violent situation. I did that so many years ago. My children are all grown up now. I tend to agree with you, Linda. I tend to think the self-sacrificing route as the man, because I have heard this argument before that Eric allegedly said, where men will say, I'm going to stick it out for the kids and basically sacrifice myself. But you know what I say to the men in those situations? I say to them, hey, you're teaching your sons what is okay. You're teaching them through your actions to stick it out with a toxic woman. That's the lesson you're teaching them. So that's why I would say ultimately you get out. You get out. And would she really be that dangerous to the kids? Well, we have learned she was certainly that dangerous to him. Would she do that to the kids? Can't rule it out completely, for sure. And you never know. You never know if she would or not, right? There are mothers that have killed their children. They're out there. It's rare. Rare, but it happens.
Please do not leave those boys to wonder whether Kouri might track them or their children down in the future. Please do not create a possibility for Kouri to endanger Eric's boys, my daughters, my family, or anyone else ever again.
Well, Mike, I'll tell you what. If there is ever a Nancy Guthrie courtroom, that would probably be the biggest circus of all time. Maybe only rivaled by the O.J. Simpson circus. Seriously, right? Can you guys think of a bigger circus than the Nancy Guthrie case circus, if there ever is one? Could you imagine? You would have all the streamers, the Brian Ettons, the Tony Brewskis, the JLRs, the Dad's Gone Lives, the Tucson 857s, Monk's Intrigue, the IR, frickin' Sluice Intuition, me. Oh my Lord. What an island of misfit toys that would be.
Now, Amy Richins went next. So this is a double whammy for Kouri. These are Eric's two sisters, and we've just heard from Katie, and Amy went next. Kouri's reaction was, I think, less intense with Amy's. She talked to her attorney throughout the statement, which in and of itself can be a communication about how important she thought what was being said was, or whether she thought it was important at all. It telegraphed just a lack of interest in what Amy had to say. There was one very significant signal, though, that she sent, and let's look at that one.
At one point, I received a message sent from a burner phone that said, "You think you're funny? Kouri will get the last laugh. Your jealousy is as disgusting as your family." Law enforcement later confirmed through warrants that the message came from Kouri. That moment stayed with me.
What?
Because it captured what these years have felt like. Not just grief, but intimidation and distortion.
I think I had that on a little bit faster than probably Amy was actually speaking. I was watching that fast, so sorry about that. But you see, Kouri, violently, what? And I'm not exactly sure what she's reacting to, but probably to Amy's claim that Kouri sent this message, or maybe that law enforcement confirmed it. I don't know what they found, but Kouri is letting us know that either she didn't send it, or at a minimum that law enforcement never confirmed it. That's what she's communicating. And you saw how strong that reaction is. Now we're going to move to her reaction as the therapist read letters from her own children. They uniformly asked the court to send their mother to prison for life. And these statements, I've just pulled out a very few reactions because they were long, but these statements from the children accused her of just atrocious behavior to her own children in lots of different ways. And in her statement, which she read after this to the court, Kouri said that she believed the children and their views had been shaped by and poisoned by the Richins family, and that they are the ones who convinced Kouri.
And yeah, a cluster B woman like Kouri almost certainly is, narcissistic, psychopathic, whatever you want to call her. They take advantage of inexperienced men. That's who they prey on. They give him some sex, and it's a guy that's maybe religious or not experienced with women. They fully exploit that. And I've seen that a lot. So that's something that men need to be careful of.
Kouri's children to be against her. They turned the children against her when that wasn't how they naturally felt. I want you to observe that.
And again, I mean, Kouri's what, 36 here? They met in their 20s. So Kouri's like in her mid to late 20s when they met, more than likely. And she was probably pretty. And that also probably made that manipulation even more powerful.
The reactions of Kouri are a lot more muted right here. She's focused more on the words coming from the children, but you are not going to have any trouble figuring out which part she disagrees with. We'll start with the statement by WR.
I was scared that Kouri's family would come to my school and take me. I had to go to counseling with DCFS and Heber.
But also then Diesel, then he really rolled the dice because, okay, he knows she's dangerous. They were alone with her for a couple of years, wasn't it? They were alone with her for a couple of years. So a big roll of the dice there because this didn't happen right away. She didn't get charged right away. So how long was it from the time that he was dead until she was charged? I got to look up the time, but that was a dangerous roll of the dice. Like I said, I don't think I would recommend men take his route, but you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's already happened. So.
And I did not like it. You were not concerned about.
Okay, so now we're going to switch to the next child, AR, and you're going to see her reactions here.
Our health. When we got hurt,
eyebrow raise.
You didn't even care. Once he got run over by a side-by-side, you still made him go to the soccer game that day without taking him to the doctors first. You would lock C in his room, and I would have to go to the kitchen and bring him food. You shamed us when we didn't want to eat uncooked lasagna you made. We threw it away because we couldn't eat it. Then you made us watch videos of children starving in war areas. You wanted to scare us into eating something that wasn't cooked. You wouldn't let us turn on and use the heater lamp for the chickens and bunnies, and they froze to death. You would always argue with my dad. You made me paranoid about sleeping on my dad's side.
Okay, let's stop there because we're about to switch to another part. But notice that she's telling us that these are false accusations. She does not seem exactly surprised by a lot of them. For example, the chickens and the bunnies and they froze to death. It makes it confusing to understand exactly what she's communicating, but she doesn't agree with the way it's being portrayed by the children. You can tell that much. Now, on this next section, you're going to see her definitely register surprise. Unlike what you just saw, which is like, what? That doesn't make sense. This is going to be more surprise. The round O, classic, dramatic, look for a surprise. And she's going to suggest she doesn't know where the accusations came from. She looks around for support from her lawyer.
Of the bed by saying, I might die or get harmed when I was just trying to be close to my dad after you killed him. You took away everything from me and my brothers.
At the ER, Kouri resisted to have my blood drawn. And kids who usually have this kind of seizure is when they are a few months
We've switched, by the way, to CR.
Old to a year old. I learned later that Kouri bought more fentanyl and had it in the house when this happened. I think this is what happened. She did.
Where did that come
to my
from?
dad in the living room. I was scared for my life because I didn't eat that much. Kouri was always drunk or gone. I was always locked in my room. I can't remember, but I am pretty sure the lock was on the outside. Kouri threatened she would kill my lizard because we didn't want to watch some weird show with her. All of our chickens died because there was no food or water. My rabbit died because we didn't have food or water. The goats almost starved to death because she bought moldy hay and she didn't water them. Nothing ever got fed or watered. It didn't feel good to worry about my animals. I felt like I had to take care of my siblings. Mostly took care of me though, because I was locked in my room. To bring me food, Kouri would lock me up if I told her she was drunk.
Okay.
This happened pretty much.
Let's stop right there. I mean, do you have any doubt what she's communicating? Because I don't think there is any. That she's obviously saying this is crazy. This is clearly wrong. I don't know where these allegations are coming from. That look is coming from her, and she's going to get another surprise right here based on her reaction.
Daily. I feel angry that she locked me in my room. I am angry almost all my animals died. I am angry she threatened to kill them. I want the judge to know. I hope Kouri gets convicted to a life sentence. Kouri is always drunk. I want the judge to know my dad was a good person and I miss my dad.
Okay, so you see those reactions. It's not like those are hidden. She is rejecting those ideas and telegraphing to whoever is watching that these allegations aren't true. Now, I want to contrast this with how you were about to see her react as her family's statements were read. We'll start with when her mother's statement is read. Lisa Darden's statement was read, and you'll see that next.
Her children were never just part of her life. They were her entire world. I watched her celebrate their accomplishments, comfort them in difficult times, and carry the weight of motherhood every single day. She loved fiercely, deeply, and unconditionally. Eric and those boys were her life. Both Eric and Kouri were very loving and attentive parents, but I asked the court to remember, a person is more than the worst moment of their life, or in this case, more than a verdict that many of us still struggle to understand and accept.
So there's a reaction to worst moment of their life. Even my mother thinks this is the worst moment of my life. Not that the mother thinks she's guilty, but what the place where I am right now, this moment in time when I've been convicted and am being sentenced, this is as bad as it gets. It's really, really bad. But you see a raw emotional reaction. This is the real deal here. This is her reacting to her mother and this very emotional time and her mother's statements. There's a similar reaction, even a stronger reaction with her brother, Ronnie. That's going to be coming next. Now, we know from a letter that was introduced in evidence at trial that Ronnie and Kouri grew up. Their mother had an addiction at the time as they were growing up. The two of them were often alone. They had to fend for themselves, and they are very, very close. And here's Ronnie reading his own statement.
I miss you. I miss our random banter. I miss your calls. I miss your constantly over-the-top positive attitude every time you speak. I miss our game nights. I miss our stupid finger gun dance after we won a game. I miss our holidays. I miss you sending the boys to wake me up on Christmas morning. Way too early after we've stayed up way too late preparing Christmas for them so that it'd be absolute perfect. I miss our Sundays together. I miss arguing with the boys about who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, Brady or Rogers. I miss our backyard games.
On one hand.
Okay, we'll move that. Okay. So those are the clips that I wanted to show you for tonight. I want to talk now about Kouri's reactions. Want to circle back around to that question I keep asking. We saw that when she reacted with the judge, there was clear contempt in that she disagreed with the court and felt like the court was treating her unfairly. I mean, you could see that disagreement with the judge. You saw real emotion and real grief, I believe, when she heard from her family and they read their statements. But there was a different kind of reaction with the statements from Eric's family, with the statements from Kouri's own children. And so let's circle back to that question. Who is the audience here? Because is it one possibility would be the judge? Is it the judge? I think clearly not, because he wouldn't like this. And I think
Couldn't even type this in the chat, Rooster, but I said, I am probably due a Heineken soon, but YouTube said, no, you're not allowed to write that.
she knows that. She believes he has already decided. I think when we saw her reaction at the verdict, she wasn't wildly surprised. Like, yeah, that's what I figured. And I think there was a small amount of hope but at the same time, she expected that and probably had been warned about that. So she knew where it was headed.
By the way, please remember to like the video because likes are free. Hit the subscribe button as well. Spank the like button. Leave your DNA of choice on the like button. Say hello to the flock of black sheep. I think we got to at least get to 100 likes. I have no idea where we're even at with likes. Miss Kim, how are we looking out there?
So is it the person speaking? Is it Amy Richins? Is it Katie Richins? Is it the boys or the people who are reading the letters from the boys? And I would say no. Just practically speaking, they're turned away from her. So they can't see her. They're not going to ever get or understand her reaction to them. So I don't think that's it either. Is one thing I did consider is, could it be the boys? Would she be thinking to herself, I really want them to see this back later and to hear from me that these things being said about me are false. I want them to know I disagreed with these things being said. I don't think that could be it. And the reason I don't think that, and the reason I showed you her reaction to the boys' letters, is she had some pretty strong reactions throughout that. And I think if this was a straight communication to the boys over the years in the hopes that sometime, maybe when they're adults, they will watch this back, I don't think her reaction would have been as strong when she read the letters from the boys. So I think the real audience was someone else. I think we were the real audience. I think the public and the people watching the trial, I think that's where that communication was directed. She seemed very aware that people were watching. Some of those reactions felt intentionally projected outward, that she wanted people to know about this reaction. And I think that may be the biggest takeaway from all of this, is that Kouri Richins clearly understands that trials are not just about courtrooms anymore. We saw that repeatedly as various people in her group or friends and relatives tried to reach out to some of the shows like Good Morning America and some of the other shows like that. That she does seem to have a good grasp of the concept that trials are also about public perception and about narrative and about how people from home interpret what they're seeing. And I think that throughout this hearing, she was trying, at least some of the times I showed you, to communicate directly to the audience, to signal disbelief or outrage, skepticism, maybe even victimhood in some of the cases. But the problem is that I think a lot of that backfired. First, it's very late in the game. At this point, the public's impact on this is less as the case goes through. The jury has rendered its verdict. We're already at sentencing. So that is very diminished. And I think the bigger and the more dramatic the reactions became, the less persuasive they felt. There were several of them where we saw reactions, but we had evidence from the trial that would contradict it. But I am very curious what you thought watching through this. Did her reactions strike you as genuine emotion, whether it be anger or frustration? Was it more of something where she was communicating to the television cameras that she thought were watching, or was it some combination of that? And even more importantly, I guess, and let me ask you to put your answers in the comments. Did what you saw, did her reactions make it more likely that you would believe her or less likely? So let me know that in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear your reactions. We'll switch over and do a few questions here. I want to do a shout out to our first 5 in tonight's chat. Betsy.
I think that actually Kouri Richins' brother is a flying monkey. He is a flying monkey of Kouri. And I think he is subscribed to her distorted version of reality. I don't think he has some grand plan of, I see through it. I want her to be guilty. Doesn't seem like it. Didn't seem like it when we listened to what he had to say. Sounds like he's fully on Team Kouri. Or, I mean, maybe you can say he's acting, but I don't think so. I think he really is subscribed. I mean, what does he have to lose? What does he have to lose by just, if he's not telling the truth and he's acting, why? Why would he do that? I don't know. So I think he's being genuine, but he's just subscribed to Kouri's distorted version of reality, and he's a flying monkey for her, is what it sounds like.
Sue, the Pat, it could be the Pat T because there was more than one T. So sorry if I said it wrong.
Well, a flying monkey is someone who is on the narcissistic person's team. They are subscribed to their distorted version of reality, and they commit abuse by proxy. Anything you say to flying monkeys, they're going to report back to the narcissistic person, in this case, Kouri. But let's not forget, it's also could be likely that Kouri's brother has a couple issues upstairs too. So they both have a distorted version of reality. I've seen that too. You ever notice that? That narcissistic people, they'll agree with one another about things. They kind of take each other's side. I have noticed that. That happens. That's obnoxious too. But that's what a flying monkey is. They're on their team. And sometimes if you've gone no contact with somebody, the person that you went no contact with, they'll send flying monkeys to try to gather information from you. And I'm sure Kouri, if she can, she's probably trying to get all sorts of information through her brother, mother, whomever. Her mother seems pretty out of control too, by the way. Kouri's, that is.
Freddie's Cat, Adam King, and Bakery Beach. And so if you would, if I didn't say this, please put question marks at the beginning of your questions, because that'll help me spot them in the chat. So I'm going to go back just a little ways. I know that some people start putting question marks in pretty early, knowing that I might stop at any time. So, okay, but I'm going to look for your question marks. That'll be how I spot them in here. Okay, here's Carol Martin asking me, Kouri's attorneys are attempting to have a new trial as well as an appeal, perhaps the faces or for the appeal board or the judge who decides if she gets a new trial. If they were for the judge who decides if she gets a new trial, then they were completely pointless, because that is never going to be granted. That is just not going to be granted. And besides, I think the judge will just really not like any of those. So if that was her reasoning, then that was just a mistake. The appellate court is not going to see it. They're not going to watch it. They're going to have a written transcript delivered to them, and they'll have specific grounds for the appeal, but they're not going to watch sentencing unless there's some specific piece of evidence or something, and I saw nothing like that here. But unless there's some important thing about it, they're not going to literally watch it. So they're not going to see her reactions. So if those are the reasons, then I think they were not well-founded. She made a mistake there. Spanish speakers got it right. I don't know what that means, Hyfro. I'm sort of dense. You have to really write out your question. If you're new around here, you will know your questions have to be really detailed. No acronyms at all, or I won't get them. All right. Preacher Man Piper thinks her reactions suggested guilt. So, okay. I think for a number of you will probably say that. I'll look forward to reading your comments afterwards. And Ruth Ann is asking, what about all three of her attorneys flanking her during her statement? That was absolutely fascinating. I've never seen that happen before. I thought it was pretty powerful, because what it said was, we support her, and we even heard from one of the attorneys, they believe her. So they actually believe that she's innocent. And I think that was the point of them being there and standing around her, to give her that support and to lend their belief to what she was saying. The one thing I thought about it was, you couldn't really see her because they were kind of up around her and just the direction. You didn't really get a good view of her. And I thought that was probably disappointing and maybe unfortunate, because it wasn't communicating to the judge. But given what she said in that, and that, by the way, is video number 3. I'll get back to that in a minute. But given what she was saying, it didn't matter. It was not going to change the judge's mind anyway, and it definitely wouldn't change the judge's mind after he heard it. And that, our third in this triplet of videos about this, is going to be, I'm going to go through what she said, and I'm going to pull out the sections where she was sending a direct message to the court or casting shade on the court or otherwise making commentary on the court. It was cast as a letter to her boys, but a whole lot of it wasn't. And we're going to go through that very specifically. So if you aren't yet subscribed, hit subscribe, please, with notifications on. I'll probably do that video Monday night, but I'm not completely sure of the timing, but that's what I think it will be, is Monday night. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Would be greatly appreciated.
So let's see here. You can see Kouri's brother. KSL News Utah.
Your Honor, at this time, we would ask Renee Odom. She is going to read her own letter. We ask that she approach the podium, and I will provide it to the court and the prosecution as well.
Of course. Renee, good morning.
Good morning.
One moment, please. Thank you. Renee, please proceed.
My name is Renee Odom, and I am here today as the sister of Kouri Richins.
So this is Kouri Richins' sister. I haven't heard anything of what she said. I didn't see this part yet.
I want to begin by saying nothing I share today is meant to excuse or lessen the seriousness of what has brought us here. Eric's life was taken, and that loss is permanent. I want to acknowledge Eric by name and say that I loved him. He was kind to me. He was a part of my life, a part of my children's life, and a part of my family. He matters deeply, and he is missed. This tragedy has devastated our family, and its deepest impact continues to fall on Kouri's 3 boys. For more than 3 years now, they have been unable to see or speak with their mother. They have lost their father, and at the same time, they have lost access to their mom. Even in separation, Kouri has never stopped being their mother. She writes to her boys every single week. She reaches out every birthday, every holiday, holding on to that connection with everything she has and reminding them that they are loved. Kouri is my baby sister, and she has been an integral part of my life and the lives of my children. She has shown up for our family in ways that are impossible to count. I was there at her graduation from high school. I was there for the wedding of Kouri and Eric, moments filled with love, hope, and dreams for the future. She was there for my wedding and the birth of my son. She was there for me when I graduated college. She stood beside me at the baptism of both of my daughters. She poured her heart into giving my oldest daughter a beautiful sweet 16. These were not obligations to her. This is who she is. Kouri has always been the glue that held our family together. She hosts every Christmas. She planned every family vacation and made sure that no one ever felt forgotten or left behind. She believes deeply in helping others, and she has lived with this belief throughout her life. Even from behind bars, Kouri has continued to help people, offering support and encouragement and kindness any way she can. That desire to be of service has never left her. Kouri is a great sister, an awesome aunt, an amazing daughter, and she will always be a devoted mother. She is also the smartest person I know. Kouri has earned 2 master's degrees and is applying to a PhD program. Growth and learning and becoming better for herself and others have always mattered to her. Most of all, she loved her husband and her children with everything that she was. I continue to struggle to reconcile this tragedy with the loving sister and the mother I have always known. I understand and respect the court's responsibility to impose a just and lawful sentence. I am not here to challenge the verdict or to minimize the harm that has occurred. I only ask that the court see the full human picture, the pain, the accountability, the lifelong consequences that are already being carried. Please leave room for hope of a life with her boys.
The impact of this tragedy will remain with Kouri and her children for the rest of their lives. Our family deeply feels the absence of her presence and that of her boys, her guidance and her love. I love you, Kouri, and I will always stand by you. Thank you, Your Honor, for letting me speak and considering my words.
I'd like to address the court with actually a personal letter that I've written to Kouri.
Okay.
Little sister, I love you. I miss you. I miss our random banter. I miss our calls. I miss your constantly over the top positive attitude every time we speak. I miss our game nights. I miss Eric's stupid finger gun dance after we won a game. I miss our holidays. I miss you sending the boys to wake me up on Christmas morning, way too early after we've stayed up way too late preparing Christmas for them so that it'd be absolutely perfect. I miss our Sundays together. I miss arguing with the boys about who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, Brady or Rogers. I miss our backyard games. I miss me and the boys running all over you at sports in the backyard and Eric getting mad because you weren't competitive enough and you were really just out there to have fun and laugh. I miss you constantly luring me into your newest ideas and getting me excited about them. I miss vacationing. I miss family volleyball. I miss playing Madden and FIFA with Eric and the boys. I miss your stupid goats. I miss the soccer games and the celebrations we created for the boys after they scored a goal. I miss Carter's smile and his obsession with goat videos. Ashton's freckles and his competitiveness. And Weston's baby blues and tenderheartedness. I miss hearing them say Wani and playing catch in your living room. I miss your family. I miss our family. I miss the life that was stolen. I miss the life that was stolen from us for reasons that we can't yet fully understand. We don't, with 100% certainty, know what happened to Eric. No one does, but we do know with 100% certainty that it wasn't caused by you. We know that. The police know it. The prosecution knows it. And everyone watching this trial knows it. They could not prove their theory, just the opposite, and yet here we are. For some reason, unbeknownst to us, really bad things happen to really good people, Cor, and you were just really too good of a person, I guess.
So I'm looking for where Nate Eaton read that letter. I can't find it. Where is it? Is it under East Idaho News? What's the name of the video?
I promised Dad a long time ago that I'd always look after you, Mom, and I intend on keeping that promise. We'll get through this together, and the injustice that's occurred here in this courtroom, it'll be righted in time. Your innocence will shine too brightly to be contained once you've actually had a fair shot at defending yourself. When the day comes, I just know somehow that you're going to change a lot of lives that really need your help. Until then, little sister, just know. Just know that I'm right by your side and I'll always be right here for you. I love you.
Buddy, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's on her team, but he's lost his sister. That's basically what it results to as well. So, like I said, I'm trying to find it, but I don't know where it is. Right, but where did he read it, Bella? That's what I'm asking. Where did he read it? Courtroom insider the day of sentencing towards the end of the show. I wish I could just find a transcript of the letter and I can just read it myself instead of having to find it. What was the brother's name? What's the brother's name? Not Ronnie, but the other one. How many could be bots? What, Mike? Ronnie. Yeah, I can't find it. Well, I guess if it's worse than what Ronnie said, it's also just someone DJ. Yeah, I mean, it's just not coming up. Nah, I can't find it. I mean, it should come right up, but it's not coming right up. Like, why is no one talking about this other brother's letter? Like, people heard about the sisters and the brother, one other brother, but not him. Nah, forget it. Well, I guess that's about it, though. Because again, his letter does what? What does he say in the letter? I don't think that's who they're referring to, Bella. They're referring to Kouri's other brother, not brother-in-law. I saw the other brother, Kouri's brother-in-law, that's against Kouri. I've seen that. I did see that one came up, but I haven't seen the other ones come up. But what's the name of the channel? Courtroom Insider is not the name of the channel. What's the name of the channel? And what's the title of the video? Jackie, I did go to Google. I couldn't find it. So is it under? All right.
And I was handed
Thank you for this, Ruth. Let's see what he has to say.
a statement from DJ, Kouri's brother. I'm going to read this. I started to read it earlier today when we were live outside the courthouse, but I didn't have a chance because stuff was happening. He said, this is DJ, "Today is not justice. Today is a big example of how our justice system has failed. Money, greed, and opportunity have ruled the day at the highest expense. There are 4 victims in this case, and none of which is Eric Richins. When a prosecution team has hid evidence..."
A little Darvo action there. Deny, accuse, reverse victim and offender.
On multiple occasions, written witness statements, and listened to attorney-client phone calls without any repercussion from the judge. This is not justice. This is a prosecution team being malicious. When the police department has one job to protect and serve, but it is allowable to lie, intimidate witnesses, and destroy evidence. Once again, this is not justice. This is corruption.
I wonder what he's referring to with destroying evidence. We'd have to hear what he has to say for himself.
Police cameras magically malfunctioned during an illegal search of attorney-client material. Jeffrey Epstein all over again.
Again, I don't know if any of these claims are accurate, though. Like, did these things happen? Is he pulling them out of his butt? I don't know.
Not to worry, the judge will allow it and even go one step further and block anyone from telling the jury how it was obtained and hearing the truth. The lead detective in this case is allowed to take the stand and lie repeatedly, only to be turned in by fellow officers, caught coaching and threatening witnesses on what to say to get immunity. The court remains silent and the judge allows it. When Kouri is falsely arrested and her personal items are stolen without a legal warrant, this is allowed. The police and lead detective Luce, I think he means Luce destroyed the pill bottle that may have held evidence with Eric's fingerprints, so that's okay. The possibility that Eric used drugs is inconvenient and doesn't fit the narrative they want. A drug dealer comes forward and states Eric had tried to purchase fentanyl. They will find him not credible and block the jury from hearing it. These are actions by a justice system that has lost its way.
I mean, hey, if that did happen, that would be interesting. If it did happen, did they have evidence that he actually was buying fentanyl himself? Wouldn't that be interesting if so? Or is this all just a made-up story? Is it a made-up story to deceive and gaslight and create a distorted version of reality, or to create a false narrative? Which one is it?
Kouri is innocent. We stand with her fully. We are glad to get Kouri out of this unjust, corrupt, and harmful Summit County court system. We are excited to get the appeal process going in a fair and impartial manner, Kouri's brother, DJ. I have not fact-checked his claims. I'm not saying they're true or not. I'm simply reading the statement that Kouri's brother gave to the media this afternoon. I also want to play a statement from Amy Richins, who came out of the courthouse and addressed the media. Here is what she said earlier today. You will notice halfway through, we have to move our media gaggle, as they call it, because a truck was trying to get through and a deputy moved us in the parking lot. Here's what Amy said.
Today does not bring my brother back. It does not restore the years his children lost with their father, the milestones he should have been here for, or the life our family believed he still had ahead of him. But today does matter. Today, the court recognized that what happened to Eric Richins was not an accident, not unexplained, and not something our family imagined. His life was taken intentionally and permanently, and the consequences of that choice are now being acknowledged in this courtroom. And for that, Judge Mrazek, we thank you. Eric was more than the headlines that followed his death. He was my brother, a son, a father, a friend, and a person deeply loved by so many people. The public has heard about the investigation, the evidence, and the trial. I remember the man himself, his laugh, his presence, his loyalty to the people he cared about, and the place he held in our family that can never truly be filled. No sentence can undo the trauma this has caused. It has affected every part of our lives. It changed holidays, birthdays, relationships, and the sense of safety and trust we once had in the world around us. For more than 4 years, my family has endured unimaginable grief while also facing misinformation and intense public and media scrutiny. Today, the noise stops. The verdict and this sentence speak louder than any misinformation ever could. Through it all, we have honored Eric with dignity, patience, and truth. We are deeply grateful to law enforcement, the prosecution team, and everyone who worked tirelessly to pursue justice in this case. We know the weight and complexity of what was asked of them, and we are thankful for their commitment to seeing this process through.
All right. That's enough of that. So basically, they're just like, that's their victory lap. They got justice for Eric. But anyway, we got to see what's on the docket for tomorrow. What do you think, though? UFO / scientist missing, or more Guthrie action? For as stale as Guthrie action is, it does still get more traction. So we shall see. So Bella says that Kouri's brother is just delusional then. Just delusional and creating ridiculousness. Yeah, I mean, because Nancy Grace has been going over the scientists and the UFOs. I'm not sure what I think about it, honestly. Some people think there's certainly a connection, but then they'd be like, well, who's pulling the strings? The CIA? The FBI? I don't know. It's hard to say. Hard to say. I'll look into it. To see what happens. But just know there's probably not really any new Guthrie news, though, too. So, but all right, folks, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, as Shadow and I would say. So, D, Rooster, thank you, Miss Kim, for modding. Dana. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Jane. People wish Bella good vibes, and Jackie, too. Could be, Bella. Could be. Nothing's off the table, right? You have a great night, D. D. Soul. Mike, thanks for popping in here. Mike from Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Ruth, thank you very much for finding that video. He did. That guy went hard in the paint. Melinda, thanks for being here. Mello, Matt Mello, my brother from another mother, as they say. Melinda. No AI, Melinda. Certainly not. Dana, you have a great night too. Autumn, D. And hit the like on the way out. Rooster's absolutely correct. So with that, everybody, good night and good fight. This is true, Bella. The world may never know, just like how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. The world may never know. Good night, Bella. Good night, everybody. Good night, Chatty Cathy.